Stand up, New York Giant fans. Got JD Sports Talk on the channel. He's been on the channel before. You probably know him if you're a Knicks fan from Knicks Fan TV. He's over there all the time. But he was kind enough to, ask to come on. We talk about the Giants all the time on Twitter. Great guy, and super excited to dive into it with him tonight. JD, we're less than 24 hours away from kickoff.
I'm so excited, man. It feels like it's like a weird Sunday because there's no Giants football, and with the way the first two games has gone, you want to play on Sunday, but it's funny after the day is over, which we have a Sunday night football game going on now. Now you're starting to pick it back up, and it feels like a Monday night football tomorrow, and leading up to it now, especially after the 1:00 game in the division. I'm excited for this game. I can't wait for tomorrow. You have the whiteout thing going on. You have Aikman and Buck on Monday Night Football now, so you have a new crew. Everything leading into it.
You're not watching Aikman and Buck, are you? You're gonna watch Peyton and Eli.
Yeah, of course. You got to. You got to go into both of them.
Yeah.
Because even when you watch Peyton and Eli, it's like they're talking over the game. I like to focus on the game as well.
I hear you.
So I'm ready to go, man. I'm ready to talk Giants football, and I'm ready to beat the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, I see a couple of people in the chat saying this is the guy from Knicks Fan TV. Yeah, JD's awesome. He's over there on Knicks Fan TV. And I worked with him before he was on Knicks Fan TV. Really good guy, great content creator. And just a really cool dude all for YouTube. So I got to go to a Knicks game with you guys this year, man. I'm telling you right now, I got to go to a Knicks game. I got to go to a Knicks one of the Knicks games with you guys this year. So hopefully I get a chance to do that. But really excited to jump into it. Obviously, we're going to recap some of the games from today as well. Like you said, it was kind of a boring Sunday because we're Giants fans. But, you watch the games a bit, and there were a couple of surprises throughout the league. Obviously, the one game we're going to focus mainly on is the Eagles. And then we're going to talk about the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys tomorrow. Bodo says, thought I'd pop in and say hi real quick. I'm watching the Yankee stuff. Thank you, Bodo, man. I figured the Yankees, right? I told JD before we went live, that's going to be big right now. So I didn't expect to get a huge stream tonight, even though the Giants are playing tomorrow night. Because obviously Aaron Judge is going for number 61 and 62. So we'll see if he gets that. If you're a Yankee fan, I'm a Met fan. So I'm happy. Mets won. Braves didn't. But Braves won as well. So we still got a game and a half lead with 8 games to go. We'll see how that all plays out. But what's your opinion, before we jump into the Giants stuff, what's your opinion on the Philadelphia Eagles? Are you scared of the Philadelphia Eagles after what you've seen the first 3 weeks?
No, I'm not scared. And the only reason, Tane, I'm going to say I'm not scared is not because obviously I'm a Giants fan and all that stuff. So I know Eagles fans say, "Oh, look, he's hating." No, you give them credit. They've shown to be very, very good, right? They've been explosive on offense, at least in the first half. I think today was the 3rd straight game since they've started the season where they scored 24 points in the first half. Now
they actually scored all 24 of their points in the second quarter.
Yeah.
They went scoreless 3 quarters today.
Right. So listen, Tana, you know how this works, right? If this was the Giants, these are the nitpicks that people pick when you start to look long-term into, is this team a Super Bowl contender? So yes, they've won 3 games. They're 3-0. You give them credit. They do look very explosive. So obviously, since it's early in the season, you wonder, well, you think, the trajectory is you're supposed to get better. So that's obviously a concern. But I still have questions. Like you mentioned, today, 24 points only in the second quarter. Last week, they struggled in the second half as well. This week, they struggled in the second half as well, as far as offensively. And as the season goes on, you want to see how teams play against, higher competition. Same thing with the Giants, right? The Giants win tomorrow. It'll be a continuing question on how do you perform against the higher echelon team. So I still think it's early to say if I'm scared of them, but definitely give them credit for their start.
Yeah, here's what I'll say about the Eagles. And I think you hit a lot of it on the head. One thing I've been hearing from a lot of people regarding the New York Giants, not that I'm comparing the Giants to the Eagles right now. Going into the year, I hate the Eagles, but I try to be as fair as I can. I had the Eagles winning 11 or 12 games and winning this division, especially when I saw the Philadelphia Eagles schedule. I still didn't view them as a Super Bowl team. I didn't think that they were going to stack up with a team like the Rams or the Niners. And one common thing I keep hearing from people that are downplaying what the Giants have done so far is they say, look at their schedule. Who have we beaten? We beat the Titans, who are now 1-2, and we beat obviously the Panthers, who are now 1-2. They both won today, but people said, "Who have you beaten?" Well, who have the Eagles beaten? And I know they've looked impressive in the wins, but I mean, they beat Washington. They beat the Lions. The Lions are okay. They beat them 38-35. I mean, I agree with you. My mindset on the Eagles right now is they look good. I think they're going to probably win this division like I thought at the beginning of the year. But by no means, as of now, am I viewing them as a Super Bowl team. And maybe my opinion will change throughout the course of the year. But right now, that's my opinion on the Eagles. I know they've looked impressive. They look dominant on offense. And I'm not worried about the Eagles because they could be a completely different team by the time we play them. We don't play them for a long time later in the season, and things change throughout the course of the year. Any other things around the league today that you looked at and you were shocked by some of the results, or just some things you saw that you want to talk about?
Well, before I say that, I do want to quickly say about the Eagles. Their cornerback tandem is legit so far.
Oh, it's good, very good.
Darius Slayton and former Giant James Bradbury. He's had a much better start of the season this year with the Eagles than he had with us last year. I think he ended up having a solid season, but last year Bradbury had definitely a slow start. He had some ups and downs, but it looks like he's finding a nice fit with the Eagles so far. And even Gannon today, the defensive coordinator of the Eagles, some instances he put some pressure on defense, and one of the criticisms that he's received out in Philadelphia is fans think that because of the cornerback tandem they have, that the defense coordinator should be more aggressive, a la Wink Martindale. So let's see how that transpires. So I will say, if those two guys are healthy, especially if you want to compare it to the Giants, where the Giants have a receiving core that still is a rotation, that's definitely going to be something that they're going to rely on to get far in the season. As far as today, surprises, I would say, I mean, do you the Colts upsetting the Chiefs? Is that like huge?
Yeah, let me share some of the scores real quick with you today, and we'll just go briefly over all the games. But yeah. I mean, the I'll tell you, the Jaguars, man, and not just that they beat the Chargers, but the way in which they did. And I know that Herbert definitely wasn't himself coming off the injury, but they shut out the Colts the week before, so like maybe the Jaguars starting to come alive a little bit. But I mean, Bears.
We can go right there. We can go right there, Tana. How about Doug Peterson? Right, he received a lot of criticism.
Yeah.
A lot of people were even questioning the hire. And I think he's won as many games as Urban Meyer already.
I think you're right. I think
so.
Maybe he won one more. I don't remember, but if he hasn't, he's definitely very close. But
even that game, you could go both ways. On the Jaguar side, the surprise. But Tana, how about the Chargers, man? A team so talented. What's going on there?
Chargers are 1-2. A lot of people had them going to the Super Bowl before the year started, and it's early.
Big off season. They made some moves. I know it's early, but it's just the way they've looked.
How about this before we jump into the rest of the scores? How about this around the AFC West division? And thank you so much, Jadon, by the way. Stand up. Thank you for being here, man. I really appreciate it. Going into the year, I think the consensus was that the AFC West was going to be by far the best division in the NFL. I think we all looked at it. You looked at Russ going to the Broncos. You looked at the Raiders adding Devontae Adams and all the pieces that they added. You still respect the Chiefs a great deal. And, of course, the Chargers. Right now, the Chargers are 1-2. The Raiders are 0-3. What's going on? The Broncos have come out struggling out of the gate. They're playing right now. They're trailing the Niners. They may drop to 1-2.
Russell's getting booed.
The Chiefs are 2-1, and they lost today. So the AFC West as a division as a whole is a surprise to me. I didn't think it would come out struggling as much as it has.
Especially the Raiders, man. 0-3. Now you're going to start to get the whole Josh McDaniels, thinking of, is this guy just a very good coordinator, right? You start 0-3, now the question marks start to happen. And it's funny too, because Patrick Graham is their defensive coordinator, and I've watched some of their games. Man, it's so night and day between him and Martindale in terms of philosophy, because I just watch the Raiders and some of their coverages and calls on defense, and I just say to myself, if this was the Giants, man, how much criticism would Patrick Graham get because of just the bend but no don't break type of style.
You saw it last week.
They blew a game.
You saw it last
Yeah.
week with Kyle Murray down the stretch of that game, and you're absolutely right. Wink has definitely brought a different identity to this defense.
Don't hire any more Belichick assistants. And don't give me Mike Vrabel because he played for him, not technically under the coaching tree.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess the best guy from that tree was the guy that used to coach on Bill O'Brien. You could say probably is the best.
But I mean, but to be fair, he had Deshaun Watson. You know, but yeah, I guess he was the best. I didn't even like Bill O'Brien.
And that's even a question mark, yeah.
Yeah, and going around the league, man. The Colts took down.
Did you see that snippet of Ken Dorsey?
Oh, with the
video
where he was flipping out in the booth. Oh, it was great. It was great, man.
I guess time ran out and he went off, man.
I'm gonna tell you what. Did you watch that Bills game at all? Did you? Or I don't know what games you watched. I was in the red zone, so they showed the Bills game from time to time.
I didn't see the highlights, so I haven't, I just seen a few snippets here and there, so I haven't seen the totality of the highlights. I usually watch it late at night, so I don't know what happened that led to that, but I did see like a picture where it's like insane, the statistical difference of how much statistically the Bills dominated the game and yet only scored 19 points.
Josh Allen, right before the half, there was about 4 seconds left, and they were in field goal range, and he could have spiked the ball, and instead he fumbled the snap. And even after he fumbled the snap, he probably still had a couple of seconds to spike the ball, and he threw like a screen pass out in the flat, so they scored no points before the half. Had they just spiked it, they probably won the game because they kicked the field goal. It was about a 50-yarder, and then at the end of the game, they were unable to get out of bounds, and that's what the guy was flipping out about. I think so. The way they managed the clock in that game situationally was horrible. And the Dolphins right now, I'm gonna tell you, man, I can't believe I'm saying this. And we're gonna get to the Giants, guys. And by the way, let me say hello to everybody in the chat, man. What's going on, Sean? What's going on, Sean Smith? What's going on, Rory? What's going on, JD? Brandon in the chat, Anthony G in the chat, Josh in the chat. Thank you to everybody for being here. We appreciate it. If I was doing a power rankings right now, though, JD, the Miami Dolphins would be number one for me.
Wow.
Because you look at the quality of wins that Miami has. They beat the Buffalo Bills. They're undefeated. They're one of only 3 teams undefeated. New York Giants being one of them, by the way. They beat the Buffalo Bills. They beat the Baltimore Ravens, and they beat the New England Patriots. I think they have to be the number one team right now, which is crazy.
If you base it on strength of schedule, absolutely.
And they have the best record, tied with the Eagles.
And they have the best record, and different types of wins, right? Like a comeback win against the Ravens, up until the end, and then look at the type of win today. So they've won, these close but dynamic games, and usually those type of games builds the team, and definitely makes the team better. So they should be getting better as the season goes on. And Tua, man, he's had a lot of criticism, and he's turning just like, I guess, Jalen Hurts. There's some of the storylines early this season.
Yeah, and like you said about the Eagles, it's the same thing I feel about the Dolphins. Well, I'd rank them, if I'm being honest, I'd rank them 1 and 2 right now in the power rankings. I still don't necessarily view either one of them as a Super Bowl team. Like I need to see the Dolphins a bit more. I need to see the Eagles play like a real opponent, and to see how Jalen Hurts plays when he plays a defense like the 49ers, and to see how he holds up against a defense like that. But so far from what I've seen in the season, they're the 2 undefeated teams. They've looked impressive. Right now, as crazy as it may sound to some, those are probably the top 2 teams I think that are going to be in most people's power rankings after 3 weeks through the football season. Look around the rest of the league, man. Ravens, Jets lost, kind of expected that. The Eagles we talked about. Panthers I don't really care about. The Jaguars, I mean, that was a shocker, just the method in which they beat the Chargers.
I will say, though, Dana, the Panthers did get a win. So, I mean, I'm just saying, does that make the Giants win a little bit better?
Same thing with the
Titans. A little bit better.
The Titans beat the Raiders.
That's what good teams do, right? They came into the season known as a good team. You're down 0-2, right? Like if you look at some of the games today, you look at the teams that face adversity. Cincinnati Bengals, Tennessee Titans were teams that were viewed this year as continuing contenders. They both got must-win games today, and they did what they needed to do. That's what good teams do. And so, the way that division's going, we'll see. So I just think when you look at it week to week, that's why I can't wait for tomorrow's game, Tanya. Just because this is a week-to-week league.
Game, man. Your opinions, because each game means so much. Your opinions of teams could change drastically from week to week. Like next week, Miami could lay an egg, and I might feel completely differently about them, or the Eagles could lay. That's the way the NFL is, and that's why
Look at
we
the
love it.
Vikings. Look at the way the Vikings just looked against the Eagles, and a
Yeah.
lot of people had Detroit as a little, winner today.
Detroit covered. I picked Detroit in my pick 'em, and I thought that they were a legitimate team that could pull the upset today, and they probably should have. The Vikings had a good comeback at the end, but I'm still weary on Minnesota so far. I'm not. I thought they'd be better than what they've looked thus far, but we'll see. I mean, my opinion may change in a couple weeks.
Dalvin Cook doesn't look like the same player. So even in addition to the question marks that Kirk Cousins faces, Dalvin Cook has not looked explosive, kind of like Ezekiel Elliott in terms of dynamic stars that now just don't look like they have the pop. So we'll see how the season goes for them.
Yeah, man. And Dan, man, came all the way from Ireland for the Panthers game for the first time at a Giants game. That's awesome, man. Hoping for a similar atmosphere tomorrow night. All right, let's talk about tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, JD, is going to be electric. I was not there. I'm going to be at the game against the Bears week 4, so I can't wait to go. But I was not there last week, but you saw it on TV. The crowd was loud. It was really loud. You could tell from watching it on the television set. Tomorrow night, I think it's going to be multiplied by 2. As we know, as you can see in the background, they're going to have a whiteout at the stadium. It's Monday Night Football. The New York Giants coming in at 2-0. How excited are you for this football game, and how much of an impact do you think the crowd's going to have on the game?
Well, there's a lot of storylines tomorrow. I mean, Monday Night Football. So you start there, right? It's a Monday night. So every fan, in the morning when you wake up, you probably don't even want to go to work. I want to call out tomorrow, Tate. I'm telling you right now, I want to work from home.
I just started a new job 2 weeks ago. I'm thinking about calling out.
Yeah, I'm telling you, because it's hard to get up for your job. And please, everyone, go to your jobs, go to your responsibilities, do what you need to do. But the feeling is you wake up and all day you're just anticipating 8 o'clock, the pregame show. So you start there, the whole world is watching. Second thing you look at is just different jerseys. Like, that just always excites you. Sometimes even if it's a jersey you don't like, just the fact that the team is wearing something else is exciting, because you want to just see how it looks on the TV. You want to see how the team plays. Then you have the whole whiteout dynamic. So the whole stadium is going to have an interesting dynamic to create that atmosphere and environment. And then you look at the opponent, the Dallas Cowboys. So they're even as Dak Prescott is not going to be playing, the team is still going to bring so much other ratings and analysis and all this other stuff, the content creators. So all in all, you can't ask for a better night. You're 2-0. So just imagine the crowd tomorrow, being that they've responded already to the team's call. Wink Martindale last week pleaded with the Knicks, with the Giants fan base, on being loud and being disruptive. And then now I think when you do that and the fans respond, Tana, and you win, and the way that they won, because we needed to win last game on those third down plays, we needed the fans. So as a fan base, you feel that participation. You do feel like you had a role in that game. So I think tomorrow, man, I'm blasting the volume up, and I can't wait.
I can't wait, man. I can't wait to watch the game, call the game, and I think we got a good shot. We're going to talk about it more throughout the stream. Talk to the chat. I'm sure we're going to always get some good questions. Tommy, man, thank you very much, man. Miami should lose to Cincy on Thursday. Ironic that the NFC East / least will have this 2 undefeated teams when we win tomorrow. He's coming in confident. And yeah, listen, we're no longer the NFC least. We're not the worst division of football. I knew that coming into the year. We're not the worst division of football. We're still not the best. It's not the golden days, but we're no longer the worst. There's at least a couple of divisions that are worse than ours, and hopefully the New York Giants continue to improve. Hopefully the other teams continue to get worse. But I think our division has gotten better. I do think the Cowboys have taken a step back. Even before the Dak injury, I think they've taken a step back, and they've got a ton of injuries in this game that we're going to talk about. The other thing that I want to mention, and you keep hearing everybody say it on Twitter, and it's not going to go away until he wins a game, until the New York Giants win a game on primetime. And it was before Daniel Jones, by the way. We always struggled on primetime. My theory on the primetime thing, I don't think it's like Daniel Jones gets nervous or anything like that. Like, you look at last year, Daniel Jones actually had one of his greatest games as a pro in primetime. Darius Slayton dropped the ball against Washington. Dexter Lawrence got called for an offsides penalty, but Danny Jones played really well. The New York Giants since Danny Jones has been a Giant, have been a really bad football team. And generally speaking, when you play on primetime, you play a good team. So I think that has more to do with the fact that why the New York Giants have struggled on primetime as much as they have than anything else. This is a game, though, however, Daniel Jones can win. The New York Giants can win. I don't look at this Cowboys team. I'm not scared of them. I'm not blown away. We have every reason in the world to think as Giants fans, we can win this game. I'm not taking the W for granted. I'm not going to the game saying we're absolutely going to win. We're going to blow them away. I know we're going to win. No. Okay, it's a week-to-week game. The NFL is super unpredictable. We're a team that can't take anybody for granted. I think we all realize that. I think we all feel like we're fortunate so far to be 2-0. But it's certainly a game, JD, going into it. I look at it, I'm like, they're without their starting quarterback. They're without their starting left tackle. We got Kayvon back. We got Aziz back. Granted, we have some injuries, right? Kadarius Toney's not going to play. I understand all that. We can beat this football team.
The Giants have never started 2-0 at MetLife Stadium, and can be this could be the first time they start 3-0 since 2009 if we defeat the Cowboys tomorrow. So that's you're looking at the last streak that we broke, which was I think it was 5 years not winning on opening night, and then you look at the seasons then starting 0-2 to now 2-0. And now we can start 2-0 at MetLife Stadium. So I look forward to that. No, it's listen, which begs the question: if we lose tomorrow, is it a disappointment? Because I know that it's strange, right? Because we got to keep perspective, right? Like we talk about stay even keel as a fan base, keep the perspective where it's at. It's a rebuilding team. There's a lot of flaws. We don't even know who's the wide receivers here because it's a rotation. So we don't even know what's going on there. There's no stability there yet.
We know the line's a mess on the interior.
Yeah. Evan Neal's a rookie. He's going to have his growing pains. However, you're 2-0, you're on national TV. And if there's a point in that game where it looks like, man, we had a good start and then we lost the game, or we're down a drive and it's up to Daniel Jones in that last drive and he doesn't come through. I just wonder if it goes from we're 2-1 to you're just disappointed.
I'm gonna tell you right now. I'm gonna tell you right now. I can't say how I'm gonna react and what my opinion is gonna be, but the general outlook from the fan base, I already know. No matter what happens in this game, if we lose, a large portion of the fan base is gonna be like, you lost to Cooper Rush. You lost to Cooper Rush. You lost to the Dallas Cowboys. Once again, the Giants could not get it done on Monday night. But you're right in a sense that look at the broader picture. The Giants have a game next week where they should be able to get the 3-1 against the Chicago Bears. But that's not the way it works, right? The NFL world, especially in the New York market, very reactionary. And we see an opportunity to start 3-0. But I'm with you. That's been my message all offseason is this is a process. This is year one. I'm very happy that we're 2-0. I definitely am excited. I definitely think we got a good chance to win tomorrow. But in the grand scheme of things, at the end of the year, this year is about progress. This year is about building something, and something that you feel like you could grow off of going into the second year with Dable. So far, so
I'm going to say it, Tater.
Yeah,
I'm going to say it. We have to win tomorrow, man. We have to win tomorrow.
Listen, I don't want to come on here
until Monday night.
I don't want to lose on Monday night.
The whiteout. Everybody, you see the players.
It's the Ring of Honor, too. It's the Ring of Honor, too. There's 7 guys getting put into the Ring of Honor tomorrow. Leonard Marshall being one of them.
You got the Manning cast. You got the players' Twitter campaign. I mean, you got players jumping on Twitter that haven't tweeted in like a year, and they're tweeting out just to let the fans know, hey, everybody come out wearing white. So there's a lot of buildup to this game.
There is. There definitely is.
So they've programmed us to win tomorrow. So I'm going to be honest. In my heart, I feel like we have to win tomorrow. We can't lose tomorrow, man. Let's go.
Let's do it. Let's get the win then.
Let's get the win.
Jonathan, man, thank you very much, man. I think he actually added us on Twitter. He says, wow, the collab I called for on Twitter, it's happening. Yeah, we've been meaning to do this for a couple of weeks, and I'm sure I'll do stuff with him in the future. I love JD. Love what they do over there on Knicks Fan TV. They have a great channel. JD Entertainer, let's go. Good to see you, boys. Let's go, Big Blue. 3-0. Got to do it. That's just what JD said, and I'm with you, man. Let's get the 3-0, man. I hope we do it because I don't want to have to deal with a a fan base that wants to rip everybody to shreds after 3 weeks, even after a 2-1 start. Brett Carnahan, he says, been a while, just recently got my first car. Well, that's awesome. Has changed my life for the better. Glad to be here and can't believe we are 2-0. I'm 24, by the way. People say I look 17. I don't know what you look like. I can't see in the picture. It's way too small, but I'm glad you got your first car. And yeah, man, enjoy it, buddy. But thank you so much for being here, man. Enjoy the game tomorrow. And thank you. MY Giants 26 says, what's up, Chris? So your sponsors today, Small World. What do you mean you saw my sponsor? You saw my where? Where did you see my sponsor? That's interesting. And Marcus says, we need this. We'll look pretty dumb if we lose. JD, I think you kind of agree with that sentiment if you based off of what you just said.
I mean, I don't know if we'll look dumb because my fan in me says we have to win, we can't lose. But then, you know, the objective side of me is you just got to see how the game plays out too. You know, like you don't know how the game plays out. What if the Giants do play well? Like, what if the defense is amazing and you know we just don't score enough points? Right? You don't have Kadarius Toney. You know, you don't have Wan'Dale Robinson, their top draft pick, who they have big plans for. So it's not to create an excuse pre-game, but it's going to be challenging to score a lot of points because you're also facing, like, you're not facing Cooper Rush on defense.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, like Cooper Rush is not the corner. It's Trayvon Diggs. You know,
Micah Parsons.
It's Micah Parsons. You know, it's DeMarcus Lawrence who plays well against the Giants historically. So we got to see how the game pans out, but I think we have to find a way to pull out the game. And I will say also, Tana, what's going to be interesting with Cooper Rush is he started 2 games in his career. He only has 1 interception in 2 games and 71 pass attempts. So it looks like when you look at it from that perspective, and I saw the Vikings game last season where he started, and then the Cincinnati game, I saw that game as well. The game plan that they use for Rush is kind of, I guess, what you would want to use for Daniel Jones so far, and quarterbacks that you just don't want to put in harm's way is they try to limit the mistakes. And so when you look at us, you want to create turnovers. You want to give the offense as many opportunities as possible. And he has a 93.6 passer rating in those 2 games, with 3 touchdowns. So I just want to say, I know he was a Giant and he didn't look good here, but there's something about the Cowboys in him that, you know, he just plays better in that organization. So nothing would surprise me. But we definitely cannot take it for granted that it's Cooper Rush, the red hair and all that stuff. We got to come to play tomorrow. And we got to come to win this game.
No doubt about it. What I will say about this matchup, I do think Wink's going to come out with a good game plan. I do have faith in Wink to come out with a good game plan against Cooper Rush. That being said,
what do you do? Do you go at him, or do you rush for, put more people in coverage and see what happens?
I'm going after him. Now I'm going to mix it up like he did last week. He did a great job, but no, if I'm Wink, I'm getting aggressive. They got a rookie left tackle. They got their backup quarterback in Cooper Rush. I now have a full games tape on him playing in this system this year with these players. I have a better look at him as a quarterback. I'm going to do the same thing I did to Baker Mayfield. Now, if you remember last week against Baker Mayfield, Wink didn't come out ultra aggressive in the first half. He blitzed a few times for sure. The second half is where he really started to turn it up. So he may do something like that. It may be like, you feel him out a bit. You try not to get, hit with a big shot over the top. And then you try to, disguise your blitz as well in the second half. He may do something like that, make adjustments in the second half like he did last week when we were ultra aggressive. But I have no doubt in my mind that Wink's going to come out with an aggressive game plan, and it's what's worked. I mean, right now the New York Giants have the best third down defense in football, 5 of 23 in terms of teams against us on third down. So Wink's done a tremendous job. I don't think he's going to change that. I think he's going to continue to be aggressive. If we were going up against Aaron Rodgers, I may answer you differently, but we're going up against Cooper Rush, and I'm not trying to take him for granted. Like you said, I don't want to take anybody for granted, and they do have some weapons. The guy I worry about most actually is Pollard. It's what I said in my preview video. I worry about him a ton coming out of the backfield as a pass catcher, much like McCaffrey last week. And the Giants did a really good job with that. And I think they're going to come with a very similar defensive game plan where you're going to see a lot more safeties on the field than we did week 1 when we were going up against Derrick Henry. I think they need more speed on the field with a guy like Pollard coming out of the backfield. because he's dangerous. He's definitely a big play threat. Of course, CeeDee Lamb, I expect them to probably try to line him up in the slot. We remember that last year where they tried to create the mismatch against Darnay Holmes. And they got Gallup back. I don't know how many snaps he's going to get. It may be limited, but they've certainly got some weapons. And I respect them, but Cooper Rush doesn't scare me. And if I'm Wink, we got to create some turnovers if we're going to win this game because our offense is going to be limited. Let's be real. You look at what the Cowboys have done, JD. They held Joe Burrow and Tom Brady to a combined 360 yards passing, and we're without Kadarius Toney, and we're without Wan'Dale Robinson. So the defense has to come up big.
And I 100% agree with the approach because I guess conventional wisdom could say, just sit back. It is Cooper Rush. Don't, put more defenders in coverage, make him survey the field, make him go through his reads. Listen, man, I don't have time for that. I'm going after him. Yeah. I also think one of the reasons why Wink didn't go as aggressive against Baker, that game he had Dane Belton and Cordell Flott playing, 2 rookies. And so sometimes when you have a rookie corner, you have rookie DBs starting their first game as a D coordinator, you try to sit back and see how they respond to coverage because you don't want to immediately from the first snap put those guys on an island. Right. And that's what you do to a lot of DBs when you send more people, to the quarterback is, you're susceptible to a big play. And so I think he wanted to see how they responded. Dane Belton played well. And I think Cordell Flott played very well as well. He had one bad drive. Yep. And I think there was something to when Wink said that he was going through cramps. If you see the 2 plays, especially the play that he got beat on the touchdown, he was just like falling to the ground. It looked like just a weird snap from him, weird like technique. So I don't know if he was starting to feel the cramps there. But I think he played well. So I think he's seen that response. They got the first game under their belt. This game, I see him going aggressive. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if he sits back a little bit because he, like the first drive, for example, he may want to see how Azeez and Kayvon Thibodeaux play out as a duo without pressure. Like, let's see how those 2 guys respond. If the first drive, they don't get much pressure. Second drive, we're sending the house. So I think it's going to be interesting to see what's his game plan, early in the game.
Yeah, and I could see it being kind of like last week, kind of like you were saying, feel them out a little bit, see how things are going before you start to get ultra aggressive. But there's going to come a point in time, and I don't think he's going to wait as long as he did last week, where the Giants really start to turn up the blitz because we're going to have to create some turnovers in this game, I think, if we're going to win. And I have confidence we're going to be able to do that, especially if we could limit the damage on the ground and force Cooper Rush into obvious passing situations. Tommy, man, thank you very much, man. Am I wrong? But Dallas has won the last 2 primetime games at New York City. The Thursday opener after the 2012 title and the OBJ catch game. I'd have to go back and think about that. We beat Dallas, but I think that game was in Dallas.
I know they've beaten us a lot lately. I know that.
Yeah. We played them on prime. That was an opening day. Maybe it wasn't on prime time. I'd have to go back and look at that. I look at the Giants versus Cowboys history. That's a good question by him in terms of in New York City on prime time. I'll look it up right now. Well, it doesn't tell me if it was on Monday night or not. But good question. Historically, I'm looking at it. The Cowboys own a 71-47 advantage. And the Cowboys have won. Oh my God, I'm getting depressed looking at this. The Cowboys have beaten the Giants 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9 out of the last 10 times.
Yeah.
And the one time was without Dak. Now they don't have Dak this week, so we'll see. But but yeah, obviously they beat us in the OBJ catch game. That was on prime time. I think you're right because we've lost 9 out of the last 10 overall. NY Giants 26 says, before I knew you got a new sponsor, Mojo. Oh, okay. I was at MetLife and they came up to me promoting their business and gave me free stuff. Came home to find your new. Yeah, I found it. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. That's actually where I met them at MetLife and at FanFest. And that's where I talked to them. And they said, we want to work on your channel. The guy was a subscriber of mine. So that's cool. You got to meet him. Jonathan, man, what's going on, man? If I'm Wink, I'm zone blitzing and disguising everything early. See what he can handle. If he can't handle it, I stick with it and adjust from there. So Jonathan's saying I'm coming out and being aggressive on the first drive, and I'm going to test Cooper Rush. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's what he does. At the end of the day, he's a backup quarterback. Okay, he's a backup quarterback. I don't care how decent, and that's the key word, decent. He hasn't looked great. I don't care how decent he's looked so far. He hasn't gone up against the defense like Wink. JD, we saw it in training camp this year. Everybody was killing the offense early on, but I think Wink's defensive game strategy had a lot to do with why our offense looked as poor as it did the first 2 or 3 weeks of training camp, because you didn't know where anything was coming from because it was so aggressive. You're trying to learn a new offense. Well, Cooper Rush is getting thrusted into being a starter. It's only his second week as a starter in the NFL this year. I think he had one game last year. The guy's not a starting quarterback. I agree with Jonathan. You got to try to push it. You got to pick your spots. I'm not saying you blitz on every single play, but you got to force the issue. You got to try to create some turnovers against this guy.
Yeah, and Wink style defenses in training camps must be a headache to deal with, because you're trying to ease up on the offense, trying to get some chemistry and rhythm. And here comes on the other side, you got 6, 7, 5 guys coming at you in training camp. I mean, just look how the Panthers look today. They looked a lot more comfortable on offense, not playing a Wink style defense. So I just think Wink's defense is created to create chaos. And when, you're not, even Matt Rule was talking about they had communication issues last week, and the center was having trouble, surveying the looks that Wink was giving. How many times have we seen even Jihad Ward drops back into coverage? And so there's a lot of, variations that he throws at you, and that's the purpose of it. And so, we'll see how the offense responds tomorrow. They definitely have a tough task ahead of them because this Cowboys defense is fast. One thing about this Cowboys defense is they are fast and they're definitely physical. You start with Micah Parsons, right? This is a guy that at first was drafted and they were going to use him as a middle linebacker. And it wasn't until his rookie game, the opener, he was playing middle linebacker against the Buccaneers. And then after that, they started to put him as a pass rusher, and they started to see that, hey, even though he's undersized in terms of weight as a DN, the guy's getting sacks. And so you don't worry about a guy's size, whether he's a tweener, because he's playing a certain position. He's getting it done. And so you put that 4.4 speed as a DN. And then once you go into their secondary, they got a safety that's very physical, Donovan Wilson. He's a very fast, physical safety. And they got Osa Odigizua in the inside. He's a pretty fast DN. DeMarcus Lawrence plays well against the Giants. And Quinn has, we talk about head coaches to coordinators. Quinn has been an outstanding coordinator.
Yeah,
not so much, a head coach, but as a coordinator, in Dallas, you talk to people in Dallas, they're thinking
Seattle too, right? He was the DC with the Seahawks as well, wasn't
right?
he?
And you saw, yeah. And then the Jets and Dallas and everywhere he's gone, he's had a strong defense, and people in Dallas think he's going to be a head coach next season, especially if the defense plays well this season. They think he's going to get an opportunity. So, the Giants have a tough task ahead of them. Because it is a division foe, and there's some headlines here. Micah Parsons is motivated tomorrow. Lawrence Taylor will be watching, and you see the comparisons. I think they're ridiculous, but that doesn't mean that Micah Parsons is not looking at it like, I want to make an impression on Monday.
They're ridiculous, but I still have tremendous respect for Micah Parsons. Like,
yeah.
he's still a beast, and the Giants in this game, that's where it starts in terms of what we have to worry about as an offense. It starts with Micah Parsons. He could completely blow up this game if the New York Giants don't do a good job. And it's why, I see people on Twitter saying Jones has to win us the game. Not this game. They have Parsons going up against Evan Neal. And if we were going up against a high-powered offense, I might say to myself, all right, they got to go out there. They got to win. They got to put points on the board. We're going up against Cooper Rush. You have to play to what gives you the best chance to win a football game. And the fact of the matter is we're going up against the best edge rusher in football, who's going up against a rookie right tackle. The interior part of our offensive line is weak to begin with. We're without Kadarius Toney. You got to play smart in this game. Cannot turn the football over. Of course, there's going to be times where Jones is put in harm's way, but you got to limit it as best as you can. And I'm not saying that you don't throw the ball at all. You have to throw because it's going to set up the run a bit, but you cannot get away from the ground attack in this game. The Giants did a great job last week at winning the time of possession. They won by 12 minutes last week. They got to continue that in a game like this. We all could agree anybody in this chat, especially with Cooper Rush playing quarterback for the Cowboys, their strength is on the defensive side. Our strength is on the defensive side. We got to make this a sloppy football game, and we got to play fundamentally sound. Can't turn the football over, and we got to create a couple of turnovers on the other side. It's as simple as that. I don't expect Daniel Jones to go out there and throw 35, 40 times in this game. I just don't. I have respect for this Cowboys defense, especially the way they've played the first 2 weeks. That's just my outlook on it. Now, I will say I do expect this Cowboys defense this week to be more aggressive than they have been the first two. If you look at their blitz frequency, they've only blitzed 18% of the time. Last year, they blitzed nearly 30% of the time. But I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that they played Tom Brady. You don't blitz against Tom Brady, right? Because he'll tear you to shreds. I think they're going to look at the New York Giants as an opportunity to be more aggressive on the defensive side. We all know Dan Quinn likes to blitz. So with that being said, if the Giants catch him at the right time, there may be big play opportunities here and there in the passing game. But I think you have to stay committed to the ground game and be conservative on offense, as much as that may pain some Giants fans to hear.
And two players on defense, Micah Parsons, one, because as you mentioned, this is a guy that can completely, it's funny because we talk about the position value when it comes to the draft.
Yeah.
Sauce Gardner has had an outstanding start to his season.
He was great today.
He has had an outstanding start. And yet, George Fant at left tackle looked terrible today.
Right.
The Jets have had, since Mekhi Becton has gotten injured, the Jets have had a lot of protection issues at that position. They've been shifting. And I'm pretty sure, and this is what I mean in terms of the position, where your corner has been outstanding. He shut down his position, yet how much real impact is had on the actual outcome of the game or controlling the game. Whereas, you look around the league, it's the same thing. It's in the trenches. It's protection and pass rush. And so Micah Parsons at his position can determine the game for his team. And so I'm going to be looking at that. And then Trayvon Diggs is a player I'm watching tomorrow because in a game like today, he hasn't had an interception yet. So, he's, this is game 3 now. These corners where they're looking at their stats, the way Trayvon Diggs has played so far this season, I've seen a few snaps where he's tried to jump routes to get that pick. Right. I think tomorrow's a game where he's going to look to do that a lot. He's going to look to sit on routes, and that's because I don't think the Cowboys are going to come in here respecting this Giants receiving core. And what happens a lot, Tana, is if you don't run the football well, and now they force you to pass the ball, these corners are going to sit on some of these routes because they're going to want Daniel Jones to throw over the top. They're going to test you to make big plays. So these wide receivers have to run crisp routes, and Daniel Jones has to, survey the field and look at his reads and make sure that, he sees the field the right way and he makes the correct passes. Obviously, in order for that to happen, Evan Neal is going to have to win some of his matchups.
He's going to.
And let me ask you this, Tana. Speaking of Evan Neal, let's be realistic here.
Yeah.
What would you consider a solid game for him tomorrow? Like if he gives up a sack, if that's what he gives up, a couple pressures and a sack.
That's a good game.
Mike, is that a good game? Like we're okay with that.
Oh yeah, you're going up against the best edge rusher in football. You're a rookie right tackle. But what I expect to see in this game, and then I'm going to get to a couple of these donations. What I expect to see in this game is much like last week. I think you're going to have a lot of help. I think you're going to have 2 tight end sets. I think the Giants they're going to try to run the ball, right? They're going to have 6, 7 guys blocking up at the line of scrimmage, and they know they have to help Evan Neal. You're not going to go one-on-one with Evan Neal the entire game and expect Evan Neal to hold up. He's not ready for it. Do I think one day he will be? Yeah, I think he's going to be a great tackle for the Giants, but not yet. Not going up against a player like that. We've seen him struggle a bit so far throughout the year. Giants are going to have to help him. But yeah, if Parsons only gets 1 sack tomorrow going up against Evan Neal and we don't fumble, yeah, I'll sign up for that right now.
And
I'll sign up for that right now.
If Parsons gets 1 and Tibbs gets 2, ooh, I'll be happy.
Jurgen says, what does it say about the Giants if we win or are able to put points up with a decimated wide receiver core? I mean, that'd be a great sign for the – listen, if the Giants score over 20 points tomorrow, I'll be thrilled, to be honest with you. I mean, look what this Dallas defense has done. They held the Bengals to, 10 last week? I don't even remember. They held the Bucks to 19, even though they only scored 3 in that game. So if the Giants score 20 or more points, I think we're going to win the game tomorrow. I do. I don't think the Cowboys are going to put up a ton of points. So if they can put up 20 points, that's a good sign for this offense tomorrow, going up against this defense the way they've looked so far.
And if we win, what does it say about us? Listen, I think something has to give, Tater. I mean, I know you win the first game. It's like, all right, let's chill out. You win the second game. All right, let's chill out. You win this third game on national TV. Like, if the team responds to all this hype and the call for the fans and the whiteout and this and national TV, blah blah blah. Like, if they respond to this, and I know it's Cooper Rush, and it's gonna be funny how it turns into that if we win, but still, you win this football game, and especially if they play well against this defense.
Then you get the Bears on deck.
We win. We win.
You get me too excited.
I'm gonna start looking at this Eagles team because I might start thinking, man, how can we win this division?
One game at a time, man. One game at a time. We got to win this one. Then we worry about the Bears, and then we go to London to take on the Packers. But I'm so excited for this game tomorrow. I really think we got a good shot, and we'll see. It's going to be a good game. Definitely going to be. I think it's 3 points either way. I think it's going to be a really close game. King Mammoth says, hashtag kill Cooper. Let's go. You can do hashtag kill whatever quarterback we're playing every week. That's Wink's mindset. John, man, thank you very much, man. This will be gladly. I think you meant to say this will be the Giants breakout game. I don't know. Maybe that's what you meant, John. Hopefully the New York Giants get to 3-0. They continue to go down the right path. And thank you to everybody for being here. Bears says, if I'm being honest, I'm a little scared for our receivers. I think Shep is our number one, which is not a good number one. I like Shep, but he's not a number one. But Richie James and David Sills are 2 and 3. I think they've been playing good so far, but we need Kenny Golladay. What do you guys think? Let's talk about that. That has been such a huge topic, rightfully so. Kenny Golladay making $18 million a year, severely disappointed last year, only had 500 or so yards, didn't score a touchdown, still hasn't scored a touchdown as a Giant, had 2 snaps last week in a New York Giants uniform, JD. What's your opinion of that? And do you think it's possible that he may use that as a source of motivation? And could this be a spot where Kenny Golladay has a big performance for the New York Giants tomorrow night?
Well, I have no problem with how he responded because I know, and listen, obviously as a fan, I look at his answers and I look at it on Twitter and I look at the screenshots, and yes, they are frustrating because the rebuttal to everything that he says is, well, if you would have, been hustling more, if you would be healthy.
Right.
So there is pushback to what he says. There is. However, I'm putting myself in his position. You don't think this guy doesn't hear about all the contract stuff? Like, I understand that he's getting a lot of money and it feels good, and probably at the end of the day he's like, hey, I'm still getting paid every 2 weeks, and it is what it is. But man, like, these guys are human, man, and
he's got an ego. He wants to prove that he's worth it,
right? I mean, I can't. There's no way somebody can't tell me that some of these guys don't want to shine in big markets. Like, of course they do. I just think this is a guy that believes that he still has something left, and there's a question mark towards what he believes is the same thing of what this coaching staff believes. And I think he looks at this as, listen, I came here to training camp. I was here in every practice, and I'm not really.
And in his head, he's like, I'm a guy who led the league in touchdown catches in 2019. I'm the $72 million receiver. I was the guy that was brought here to be the number one. But at the end of the day, JD, and I understand it from his perspective, and I take no fault outside of the fact that he basically said, I forgot the exact wording. There was one thing I took some issue with.
Is it the way he said that I should be playing regardless?
Regardless.
Regardless.
Yes. I didn't like that personally. But outside of that, I'm glad that he wants to be on the football field. Like Dable said, I want him to be a competitor. I want him to feel like he needs to be out there to help the football team. As far as Dable's end, though, Dable has nothing to do with Kenny Golladay being here. Nothing. Him and Shane are now making the decisions. He was signed before these guys got here. And if Dable came in, and I don't want to hear anybody tell me that Dable's trying to lose games and yada yada. No. Dable is trying to win football games. No doubt about it. He's the head coach of this team. And if he felt last week David Sills gave him the better chance to win that football game, I'm going to support the coach's decision. That's his job to make those decisions. He's much more educated than we are when it comes to evaluating these players week to week in the practices, so on and so forth. And for all we know, he may feel that David Sills, and I'm not saying David Sills is more talented receiver than Kenny Golladay, but he may feel that David Sills picks up the offense better. He's more dependable. He's a better route runner. He knows the scheme better at this point in time than Kenny Golladay. So
Yeah,
what I hope is Kenny Golladay takes, he's upset and he shows it on the football field, not on the microphone. Go out there and prove that you're worthy of being the guy that Giants fans were hoping for when we first brought you in here. But I don't even know if he's going to get a lot of snaps tomorrow, if I'm being honest.
And that's the thing is, first of all, I'll say this. I do agree, but we know how it works, Tana. The Giants are 2-0. So the whole rotation at left guard and the whole rotation at wide receivers, it isn't getting questioned because we're 2-0. Because if you recall, Joe Judge did have rotations as well.
Offensive line, yeah.
And we were losing and everything was getting questioned, right?
Yep.
So, and when you look around the league, it's not like the wide receiver position is a position that other teams play around with. Even teams that are not good have a consistent, 3-4 wide receivers. You're the number one, you're the number two, you're number three, and you play. And especially you would think when you talk about chemistry, stability, you would think in a contract year for Daniel Jones that you want to get him some consistent chemistry with some wide receivers. But we're winning. It's working. It is what it is. What I would do.
It's like the Saquon jersey. I ain't touching it. I'm putting the Saquon jersey. It works.
Yeah, I'm not saying nothing. But I think this is the perfect week because since he put himself on the spotlight, it's Monday Night Football. You're facing a 6'2" corner in Trayvon Diggs. I'm playing him most of the snaps, Tana. I'm putting him. It's put up or shut up. You said all this, fine. If I'm Dable, all right, I'm putting you out there. Let's see what you got. We're going to call plays for you, and let's see what you got. I think he's just a bad fit for this quarterback. I think he's a bad fit because the thing about Golladay is he's a wide receiver that needs a quarterback that'll just throw him the ball. Right. And I don't know that Daniel Jones is the type of quarterback that is best fit with a receiver that you just have to throw the ball to them and everything is going to be contested. Like Golladay is just not a receiver that creates a lot of separation.
Yeah, he's
like,
50-50. He's
when
Burris.
you look at
that type
and even Burris did create some separation at the top of his route because he was really nifty. But Golladay, it seems, even when you look at his Detroit tape, you got a quarterback like Stafford who's like Brett Favre. There's no problem throwing you the football, and everything with Golladay is contested. So I don't think that style is a fit with the way Dable wants to create his offense. Dable needs shifty receivers, receivers that can create separation. And that's why you got Wan'Dale Robinson. And I think that's the issue is him as a receiver. He's great size, 6'4". That's what you want. You want receivers that can contest, but everything is just contested. And when you lose just a little bit of speed and you have hip surgery, then now it makes it even, more problematic because if you already have trouble separating when you were in Detroit and you were healthy, you were just a great, receiver catching the ball at the top of the play. But now you can't even create separation. You're having trouble getting off the line. Maybe the coaching staff knows something more than we know. Tomorrow we're going to see what he's about.
I hope he gets the opportunity. I'm rooting for him tomorrow. I hope he goes out there and plays great. Sean says Cowboys are going to stack the box and play press man. I agree with that. I think they're going to do the same thing that Carolina did last week. Giants have 0 wide receivers that scare anyone in that secondary. How do you see the offense scoring? It's not going to be easy, and I don't think we're going to score a lot. I think the defense is going to have to play their asses off. They're going to have to get us good field position, hopefully create a couple of turnovers. But I don't think this team against this defense is going to put up a ton of points, if I'm being honest with you. I think it's going to be a grinded out game like it's been the last couple of weeks. And hopefully, Godot makes a couple of field goals. We have one really good drive where we get in the end zone and we're able to eke out a win. 17-14, 20-17, something like that. That's what I'm looking at in this game. I don't expect them to go out there and throw 3 or 4 touchdowns. I just don't. The other thing, we haven't talked much about him in this stream, our best playmaker. I don't care who the defense is. Saquon Barkley's always capable of breaking off a couple of big runs in a football game. And he's a game breaker. He could change things, right? You think back to the Chicago Bears. I think it was his rookie year. Might have been his second year. I think it was his rookie year. The Chicago Bears that year went 12-4, I think, and they had the best defense in football. Saquon Barkley tore them to shreds when they knew we couldn't throw the football. So he's a game breaker, right? So you can't really account for him in terms of like projecting for a game because one game he may get stuffed and have 70 yards. Another game he may have 200. So he could change things too in this game, but we got to be creative. We got to get him out in space. Hopefully they do a better job, JD, this week in terms of using Barkley in the passing game. I like to see that a bit more. I think he's got 8 catches, but he really hasn't had any explosive plays in the passing game. I'd like to see him use maybe in a different way in the passing game. Maybe more so in the slot, running deeper routes down the field, because I definitely think he could present a mismatch, not just as a running back, but as a pass catcher.
Yeah, and I think maybe part of the reason we didn't see him much last game is because he has so much success against the Titans, right? Like when a running back comes in and he plays the game that he had against the Titans, where he was so good as a runner, you try to stick to that strategy, especially if it's game 1 of the season. You're like, oh, okay, like Barkley's showing me that he could run through the tackles. He's showing stuff that he didn't even show when he was a rookie and he was good. Like certain aspects of running and lanes and seeing certain spaces, that was part of his criticism. He showed some of that in that Tennessee game. So I think going into the Carolina game, it was one of those things where you just don't know what you got a wide receiver, so you try to stick through it. I think now, after you saw the way Carolina played the Giants, they had more guys in the box. They forced it. They tried to stop the rush. I think this game, you're facing another fast, good defense. I think this is a game where you may see some of those attempts, screen passes, put him out against a linebacker, just being a little bit more creative. And I think you stick to that type of balance, because as you mentioned, all he needs is one play. And sometimes we saw it against Tennessee. We saw a run like that against Carolina. Saquon Barkley can break 20, 25, 30, 40 yards. And in a drive, sometimes that's all you need to get a drive going, to get the offense going and scoring points. And he gives you that. So you definitely have to utilize that tomorrow night.
How about Breida too? I'd like to see Breida. I'd like to see more.
He's fast. I like him.
Fast. He is a game breaker, and I do think he's a guy that could break a play or two. And I'd like to see some packages. We've seen a few of them where they're both on the field at the same time, but I'd like to see more of that. He's another guy in the backfield that could potentially create some big plays. So he's another guy, that maybe the New York Giants utilize a little bit more in this game as well. Just trying to think of guys that could create big plays for us this week. The other thing is we really haven't seen quite yet, JD, and I know you got to get going soon, right?
Yeah, a little bit.
Just let me know whenever you got to go.
Yeah.
Just let me know, because I know you're going on Knicks Fan TV tonight. But the other thing we really haven't seen quite yet, JD, we haven't seen a big Daniel Jones run. And I know they've tried it. They've run a lot of.
They've tried it.
And if this defense overcommits this week, maybe this is the week that he breaks out and has one of those big DJ runs. But we'll see. Hopefully we catch him off guard and we come out with a good game plan offensively this week. That's all I could say.
Yeah. I'm excited to see. I'm excited to see another game of Danny Jones. When you got a quarterback that's facing so much criticism and so much, the microscope is on him. And it's tough, man, because I try to see it on both sides. And, you're facing that Cowboys defense and you don't have Darius Slayton, you don't have Wan'Dale Robinson. Like, look at some of these games today. Look at the way Brady looked. Look at the way that offense looked without. And I saw the game, and those guys you saw his frustration with some of these receivers. They didn't know where they were going. People dropping passes. 2 of their receivers were fumbled the football. Perriman and Russell Gage. It's tough. Look at the way Hurts it looks. With his top receiver. So I do want to keep that perspective. But guess what, Tana? Doesn't matter. Let's just be real, right? Like, you can be objective and you can say what's missing, what you wish he had. Like, I wish he had a star receiver. I wish Kadarius Toney was healthy. I wish Wan'Dale Robinson was healthy. It doesn't matter, man. If at the end of the day, if David Sills is wide open tomorrow and he holds the ball an extra second and he gets sacked because he didn't get rid of the ball, let's be honest, that's also accurate analysis. Like, it doesn't matter that David Sills wasn't A.J. Brown or Mike Evans. David Sills was open on that play. So I think that's the frustration with Giants fans is, yes, I understand that this is maybe not the most ideal situation, but you still are leaving some plays on the field, whereas, some of the more higher echelon quarterbacks, they could see that and they'll make those plays.
And I think it's fair.
That's all I need them to do tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't need you to throw 300 yards. If you throw 200, let's make sure it's 200 yards of productive, positive plays that leads to a win. That's all I want.
I just want to win, man. However you get it. But Jones gonna have to be smart with the football, and he can't miss as many reads as he did last week. I agree with that. If there's opportunities, he's got to take advantage of it, and hopefully he does. But like you just said, I ain't expecting him to throw for 300 yards. That's just being unrealistic. Michael, man, thank you very much, man. Tibbs versus their rookie left tackle is better than Parsons versus Neal. I mean, it's definitely a matchup we could take advantage of. I don't know if it's going to be Ojulari or Thibodeaux paired up on him, but it's definitely a matchup we could take advantage of. So we'll see. But I'm not going to put either one of our edge rushers near the level of Micah Parsons until they prove that. Micah Parsons has proven it to me is the best edge rusher in football right now. But that's certainly a mismatch for us too, Michael, that I think we could take advantage of. Not just with our edge rushers, by blitzing. I think Wing's going to attack the left side heavily in this football game, whether it be the safety, the corner, the edge. They're going to try to take advantage of the rookie left tackle. Make no mistake about that. And just Cooper Rush in general. They're going to send guys his way.
And Tyler Smith he's been pleasantly surprising so far, just because of the way that he got into the spotlight because of Tyron Smith, and he's responded decently. I'm looking to put Tibbs on him. I know a lot of people want to put Tibbs on their right tackle, Terrence Steele, but Terrence Steele is just more experienced than Tyler Smith. And so when I looked at some of those reps that Tibbs had against Evan Neal in training camp, there were some of those reps where Evan Neal didn't have a chance. Evan Neal won some reps, but there were some of those where, Evan Neal's profile is similar to Tyler Smith in that they're both very strong tackles. Tyler Smith is extremely strong player. And so, Azeez looks to be more on the stronger end type of player, whereas Tibbs a little bit more of a speedster. I want to put some speed against strength and see if Tyler Smith can bend his hips, can turn the corner and can use some technique. And when you face a guy like I hope Tibbs is going to turn out to be, you think in a 4-quarter game, let's see how much he plays, that sooner or later, Tibbs
how excited
we'll get to the house. And I'm excited to see him in the 4th quarter. He's talked a lot since the draft that he prepares a lot of his game. He says, if I start slow, look at me in the 4th quarter. Yeah. You look at Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons gets a lot of his plays in the 4th quarter. These guys set you up to beat you later in the game. Let's see how Tibbs plays tomorrow.
And that's when you need those guys to show up. That's when you need those top tier edge rushers to show up to close out the football game, right? Hey, man, I just hope I know for a fact if he gets a sack tomorrow, MetLife Stadium is going to be louder than it's been in years. So yeah. I am begging he goes out there tomorrow and shows out. Jason, man, thank you very much. Says, let's go New York Football Giants and New York Knicks. Stand up. Hope to see you two do more shows together. Tides may be turning in New York. Yeah, listen, JD is always more than welcome to come on. And
people don't know we have like a relationship outside. No, I haven't like been on the channel a lot.
Yeah.
But we go a little bit way back. I actually used to be one of your under the rug type of subscribers where I used to watch a lot and not be in the chat, and then I evolved to getting more involved, and now I'm on the screen. So
JD's been one of my best supporters for years.
Yeah.
He's always been active in my chat for a long time. He said I was part of the reason why I started a YouTube channel. Obviously, a lot of other guys, I'm sure, the guys over there that you're working with Knicks Fan TV had a ton to do with it. I know Sam had a ton to do with it. So
yep.
I always appreciate the kind words. And when I saw you start a YouTube channel, I'm always, polite to anybody that says, right, I'm starting a YouTube channel. Chris, check it out. And I always try to, give anybody exposure that I can. I'm being dead ass serious with you, man. When I checked out your channel, I was like, yeah, I need to work with this guy. Like, and outside of you just being like a really nice guy and a really good supporter of mine, you know your stuff, you're passionate, and you could really tell that you cared about what you were doing. And I'm sure that that's what they, he saw over there on Knicks Fan TV, and that's why you're over there. But yeah, man, anytime I get a chance to work with you, always love talking to you on Twitter. We talk about the Giants every day on Twitter through private messages because we love our team. So, yeah, I love it.
And I'm always, sharing news to you that you already know about, but it's a habit. So we're talking, Giants and Knicks and even Mets, and I'm not a Met fan, and I mean we just talk everything. So it's definitely a great relationship that I value.
You think the Mets are going to do it this year or what?
I told you privately, man. I don't know how a team could beat the Mets in the 7-game series. You know, if they get it to that format where you go, because I think the first round 5 games, or is everything 7 now?
Yeah. So the way it works is the first round is actually 2 out of 3, but that's if the Mets win the division, they pass that, they get a bye.
So they
And then
go into the 7-game format.
no, it's 5. NLDS is
Okay,
3 out of 5. NLCS is 4 to 7. World Series 4 to 7.
right. Even in a 5-game series, you know, you got the ability to bring back your ace on short days rest. It's just I know some people may look at it and say, well, this and that. Yes, I know the Mets have some stuff to work on, but October baseball is different, and it becomes about pitching. We see it all the time. These games are 4-3, 2-1, 3-2, and it's all on pitching, man. I'm a Yankee fan. I'm concerned about Garrett Cole. I think you guys are all right.
Jake didn't look good last time out. I'll say that, but part of me is like, I think he's saving it for the playoffs.
I mean, can we give him a break though?
Yeah.
I mean, I saw some ridiculous stat about how it was so much starts where he hadn't given up like 3 runs or something like that. And it's like he's due for a game. I mean, my ace is giving up home runs every day. I think he's trying to get the record of Aaron Judge.
I'm gonna make you make this promise right now. If there is a Subway Series this year, which I'm begging there is, you're coming on. We're gonna talk about it.
Yes, go.
If there's a Subway Series,
we got to call it. Maybe we'll call a game together.
We'll call a game together. We'll do something.
Yeah.
Man. What
Absolutely.
do you think of the chances of Subway Series this year?
I honestly think if you had to ask me, it's more on the Yankees than the Mets. I'm confident the Mets can make it, man. I'm really bullish on that Mets pitching in the playoffs. I think Buck is gonna release these guys, and DeGrom and Scherzer are throwing 7 innings minimum, and that's on a minimum scale. The Yankees, listen. The great thing about October is, and the great thing about New York is, you know this, Tater, because it works for both of our teams. Stanton missing 50 games, and Lindor, or whatever people want to say about certain players in high pressure situations and statistics. This guy didn't have a great season. This guy sucked all year. When the playoffs start, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Garrett Cole giving up all these home runs. When the playoffs start, our minds are going to shift, and it's all going to be about what you do then.
Yeah, it's a new season.
And so once it starts, I'm confident that the Yankees could go far, but I don't know, man. There's just a lot of things going on. I don't know.
Astros are going to be a challenge. Astros are going to be a challenge, just like the Dodgers are going to be for us. The Astros are going to be a challenge for you guys. But
so let's say this: it's either going to be Astros versus Dodgers or the Yankees versus Mets, because those are the two biggest.
Sign me up, man. I don't care who if we make it, but I would like it more to be the Yankees. Big Moo says, wait till we see Mr. Tibbs in his first NFL game. That's what we've all been thinking about for the last 8 days, getting to see. The last couple of days, once we heard that it was going to be official. Jonathan, man, thank you so much tonight, man, for the incredible generosity. He was the guy that said that he was happy we were doing the show together. He says, Chris, if what you say occurs, Dallas gets aggressive, do you break out Slayton for a deep ball? Yeah, okay, great question. I actually mentioned this, I think, last night, and I saw somebody mention that on Twitter. I'm like, yeah, that's a great point. This is a game where I could see Darius Slayton being a bit involved in this offense because of that. If they feel that Dallas is getting a little bit overly aggressive, there is nobody in this wide receiving core that is a better, even though he's got to hold on to it, that is a bigger threat in terms of straight line speed on the outside than Darius Slayton. So, I don't think he's going to be super involved in the offense. I could see him having a big play in this game. We'll see if they use him. He wasn't out there too much last game. I think he only had like 3 or 4 snaps. But this is the type of defense, if they're going to be as aggressive as I think they may be, Darius Slayton could be more involved in this game plan.
And I honestly don't think he's going to play much. I don't think he's there. There is the opportunity in front of him, and the strategy of the game and who you're facing and what it could turn out to be. And we don't have Tony, and like the speed and the defense, like all that works for Slayton getting the opportunity to produce. I just don't know if this coaching staff is going to go there just for that one play. Like, I don't know if it's going to be enough. Now, they may set up a certain package where he comes in for
I don't think he's going to be
6-7 snaps, and then that's the play call for him. But for those that are expecting him to play 40% of the snaps, something like that, unless it's an injury, I don't see that happening. Sometimes in coaching, there's little things that we don't know. Like, what if Wan'Dale Robinson is just coming back next week, and they know that. I don't know that they want to put in a wide receiver to play a lot, and then that's going to be a controversy next week when Wan'Dale Robinson is going to be back, and maybe he's going to be incorporated right into the game. So I think the way they'll play it tomorrow is, I honestly think the only question mark is how many snaps is Golladay going to play. Other than that, I think they're going to keep it the way they've been doing it, right? Because you've won games. And I think they're looking at it from a quarterback perspective of, let's find a way to get more protection. I think their biggest concerns right now is the interior in terms of the way that they're coaching the week. I think they're looking at how we can improve this interior protection. And then Daniel Jones, how can we improve UC in the field? I think the wide receiver part, I think they're just comfortable with the way that they've been doing it so far. And I honestly think that that's not even one of their biggest concerns, just because I think there's more pressing issues that are in front of the team with the protection and then the quarterback. So that's the way I think, I see it in terms of the priorities of the coaching staff right now.
And then he's got a question for you. He says, and JD, my preference was Sauce in the draft, as was mine, by the way. I as much as I love Kayvon, and I'm probably more excited for Kayvon than Sauce. Not probably, definitely, because edge rushers is just more exciting. I wanted Sauce. I wanted Sauce and Neal, because I really felt like we needed to address that corner spot after we lost Bradbury in this defense. But do you believe the Giants will be happy with the Neal pick?
It's funny, Tata. Remember that video we did on my channel on Andrew Thomas?
Yeah.
And remember at that point.
By the way, anybody that is not subscribed to JD Sports Talk, I know you mainly work on Knicks Fan TV now. Go back and watch that video because we both sounded pretty smart. when you get in retrospect, because when we said the things we said, Andrew, that was 2 days after Andrew Thomas had the bomb of a game in the preseason against the Patriots, when it was chaos and everybody, oh my God. Go back and watch that. I watched it like a month ago. We sounded pretty smart when it came to Andrew Thomas.
Oh my God. And even the comparison, we used the comparison of how Lane Johnson started his career up until that point. And we talked about how Lane Johnson, what type of tackle he's become for the Philadelphia Eagles, right? And I remember when we did that video, some people were saying, whoa, be easy there on Lane Johnson. Andrew Thomas might become a better tackle than Lane Johnson, 1 year later.
Right now, Andrew Thomas is the highest graded tackle in football.
So
can you believe it? It's crazy.
And he's getting some national recognition. And tomorrow, when you go into that trajectory, he's getting tweeted by Pro Football Focus, he's getting tweeted by CBS, like, you're getting this national recognition. You're going on Monday Night Football. I just hope that he plays well tomorrow, and I hope that the snaps he gets against Micah are good snaps, because national TV, they're going to show replays. And, they like to do that when they focus on these matchups, in the third quarter, they like to show you a package of snaps where, Micah is going against this guy. And as a fan, you get to see some of those snaps one-on-one. And that's how you get the impression of how that player is playing. I hope that tomorrow Andrew plays one of those games that he has the first two games, because that elevates your status within the league. And now Monday Night Football, you play well against Micah, and because I don't think he's going to get Micah all game, but you play well tomorrow. Now we're looking at Pro Bowl talk for him, right? Yeah. Like, now we're looking at the next level. So as it pertains to Evan Neal, I look at it as a similar trajectory. Tana, they have similar traits. And to be quite honest,
we also got to remember Neal's playing on the right side. He was playing left tackle. Like, there's a transition here, not just in terms of college to the pros. It's a new position. He's playing on the right side. So there's going to be a learning curve. And I think the fan base, JD, should have learned from Andrew Thomas. And I think they have, because Evan Neal has definitely struggled a little bit from time to time so far throughout the first 2 weeks. Now we're winning. If we were losing, maybe there would definitely be more panic. But I don't think the fan base is reacting quite as harshly as they did when Andrew Thomas got off to a slow start. And maybe Evan Neal's slow start is not nearly as slow as Thomas's was. But regardless, I think you as a fan, that if you tend to be reactionary, look at Andrew Thomas. And you have to give Evan Neal some time, like Andrew Thomas. It takes time to develop at the tackle position. And
I actually think when you look back, I think Evan Neal is actually started better than Andrew Thomas.
He did. He has.
You got to remember, Andrew Thomas went through, a lot of different coaches at his position, let alone head coach at his position.
And he had a hurt foot. He played the whole season with a hurt foot. Came out after the fact.
He was injured, and this is a guy that was learning different techniques from different coaches. And he was right at left tackle. So I think Evan Neal is just about just getting adapted to the speed of these guys. I know you playing in Alabama, but now in the NFL, you're playing a guy that's legit every single week. And again, it's the right side. It takes time. And I actually don't think he's been that bad. I just think what happens is because our interior hasn't been very good, Tana, the snaps that he doesn't have great, it's just magnified more.
He gets no help.
Right? Like if the whole O-line has started well and he's having the struggles he's had, I think it looks better. But because we're also having struggles in the interior, his snaps are going to get magnified more because we're looking at it as let's make sure that our only issues are at center, right guard, left guard. Let it not be the tackles because that could be an issue long term. But I think they'll be happy.
Yeah, in the end, I'm not worried about him. It may be another year until he really gets to where.
Let me ask you this, Taylor.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
From that question, who has more pressure, Evan Neal or Kayvon Thibodeaux to live up to?
Kayvon Thibodeaux. For 100%. As an individual, Kayvon Thibodeaux. Especially because he's a right tackle and not a left tackle. And it's much easier as a fan. You can't hide. Like if Evan Neal's a decent tackle, you can kind of mask it a little bit if the interior improves. And no, Thibodeaux, fans are going to expect him to put up big numbers. I'm not saying he's got to go out there and be Micah Parsons, but I definitely think there's more pressure as an individual on Kayvon Thibodeaux.
The media has already compared him to Micah, and I think fans. I mean, let's keep it real. I know fans are like, yeah, it's his first game, and he might not be 100%. There's fans that are expecting him to get a sack or two tomorrow. I think when they see him with the equipment,
like JD. Listen, I'm as excited as everybody else. I was one of the first guys to go out and buy his jersey. Couldn't wait to buy his jersey. But at the end of the day, the rookie sack record by a Giant before last year was 5.5. So, and last year, Azeez Ojulari said it at 8. Now I know it wasn't recorded during Lawrence Taylor's rookie year. Otherwise, it was higher than that. But regardless, it's not common to see a rookie get double-digit sacks. So don't go into this year if Kayvon only has 5 sacks in his rookie year and be, oh my God, what a bust, what a horrible pick. No, he's a rookie. So I'm super excited to see him out there. I think he's going to be disruptive. I think he's definitely going to have an impact tomorrow. I think he's going to have an impact throughout the rest of the year. When you watch Kayvon, let me ask you, and I've heard other people say this, he reminds me of O.C. Umenyiora in terms of his first step. I think he's a bit more powerful or potentially more powerful than O.C. was, but his first step reminds me, he's got that quick first step off the line of scrimmage. And when I remember when I watched the highlight films, even before we drafted him, like that reminds me of O.C. Umenyiora.
Yeah, no.
Now he needs to develop pass rush moves, much like O.C. did once he got into the NFL. But just his first step, his burst off the line of scrimmage.
Definitely. As a pass rusher, he looks to have that explosive first step. I think he might turn out to be. I think he has higher upside as a run defender than OC. But he has to obviously develop into that. But yeah, I see a lot of similarities, and that's why I'm excited to see. I mean, there's more things to watch tomorrow. First, I want to see how he looks coming off the injury. I mean, man, when that happened, I was like, oh my God, here we go. Our luck. This guy's out. This is an ACL. It's torn. And coming off, you want to see. I think I'm more concerned about Ojulari tomorrow, Tana, than Tibbs, because Tibbs is coming back off the correct timeline. Right. These calf injuries are tricky.
And it was his second lower body. He also had I think it was a hamstring, was it?
And he has to start. He's a little more under the radar because he's a second round pick and all that stuff. Doesn't have as high expectations, but he has to start to show up here because he's been getting a lot of these little nick and knack injuries. Ojulari is getting to that point to me where he's gonna have to start to be available for this franchise because you know how football is, and you're a DN. You need that burst. And my concerns are when these defensive linemen, it's kind of like a center in basketball. when you start getting these lower leg injuries, that starts to take away from your game. And so I hope that he's healthy tomorrow, and I hope that he lasts throughout the game, because calf injuries are very tricky. He's had some injuries so far in his career.
Good point. And Jonathan says, if the Cowboys stack the box play man, then the New York Giants need to stack the receivers and get these guys open. Don't allow the press and mess up the timing. Yeah, and Jonathan, what I will say is, and I've taken this as an encouraging sign. And JD, I want to get your opinion on this. We have seen all these film breakdowns this week about how Jones has missed all these receivers, hasn't scanned the field, and that's all true. And he needs to do better at that. But going back to Jonathan's point, I have faith that the New York Giants are going to be able to get these guys open, because I've seen it now with the film breakdowns over the first 2 weeks. People saying that if Daniel Jones is missing wide open receivers, JD, that means receivers are wide open. So that's the way I look at it. And I'm not just looking at it from the lens of Daniel Jones. I'm looking at it the lens from the overall offense. I know full well that it's very possible Jones is not here after this year. I want to see this offense operate much better than the previous offense. So, Jonathan, I think they're going to have wide receivers open. I do think we're going to be able to scheme them open against this Dallas defense. The question is Daniel Jones going to make the right reads and get the ball out at the right time?
And Tana, maybe we need to be in that position we were against Carolina, when Daniel Jones in that drive looked like an elite quarterback. I mean, he was put in a position during that drive where he drove down the field, and some of those passes that he made during that drive weren't even wide open passes, you would say. It was some contested throws, accurate throws to Richie James. He had a wide open tight end that he found. So he showed me potential there. The offense showed potential during a drive like that. It's about, how can we get that consistency towards, almost every drive. And so I think the system.
I saw Jay. I'm just going to explain myself, by the way.
Right.
He says that's actually not a bad take. I thought you said a bad take. I was going to explain myself. I'm like, I don't think it was a bad take. He said Danny needs to make the yeah. But my take is they're open, so that's a good thing. We weren't used to that. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, and Tana, I think that's why when you see Dable, get aggressive with Daniel Jones, I think that's one of the reasons why he does it as a coach, because the coach is saying to himself, listen, I know my system works. My system is getting people open. He's so concerned about Tony not being here. I know Wandell. Trust the system. Trust your reads. We're going to create a playbook. We're going to create a system where you're going to get some open receivers. And maybe that's why he trusts some of these guys more, because they just know where to be. It's about the quarterback making the right read. So I think it's a combination of, the system is a system that just needs an elite quarterback, I guess. But I think tomorrow you're going to see that. There's going to be opportunities there for Daniel Jones. I mean, we're playing a good defense, but we're not playing the most amazing secondary.
Yeah, I agree with you.
You know what I mean? There's going to be plays out there.
As good as they've looked the first 2 weeks, let's not make them out to be the 85 Bears. There's going to be opportunities in this game. I agree with you. Nicholas says, how does Kayvon Aziz coming back change Wink's defensive scheme? Less DB blitzing, defensive ends dropping back at the coverage, stunts on the D-line. It's a great question. I had Nikki, a subscriber, on my channel for the weekly picks, and he said in some ways he's concerned with bringing them back, because he's concerned in the sense that he thought that Jihad Ward, who I think will play more in the D-line now, and Zimenez did a great job sealing off the edge in terms of run defense, and he was a little bit worried, could we actually take a step back in that aspect? But at the end of the day, these are the guys who went out there. They're the better pass rushers. As far as the impact it'll have on the defense, dropping back into coverage, it's a great question, and we'll see it tomorrow night. And I still think we're going to blitz. Just because they're back out there, I don't think that means anything. I think what makes Wink's scheme so good is you don't know where the pressure's coming from. There may be instances where those two guys drop back in coverage and you send Darnay Holmes or you send Julian Love, or there's times where you send all of them. That's what makes this defense so unpredictable, especially for a young quarterback like Cooper Rush, who doesn't have a lot of experience in the NFL. It's about deception. It's about being unpredictable. You don't know where it's coming from. So, with Kayvon and Aziz out there at the start of the year, I expect them to be super happy with the blitz. So I don't think that changes anything. They're still going to blitz, JD, regardless who's out there at the edge position.
Yeah, and Tana, aren't you putting too much pressure on these two young players to say, all right, you're coming back. we're just not going to be, as aggressive. Like you're putting a lot of pressure on a rookie in his first ever NFL game, who I'm sure there's going to be snaps tomorrow where Kayvon goes, oh, I'm in the NFL. There's going to be snaps tomorrow where Kayvon is going to maybe be in the position that he's not supposed to, because you just make some bad reads. You go into the wrong gap sometimes because, tomorrow's going to be his first NFL game and he's going to be under the spotlight. So you're putting a lot of pressure on a player that's trying to build on a good rookie season, and a player that's a rookie who understands he has pressure on him to say, okay, let's just rely on these two guys. Because of that, in addition to Leonard Williams' absence, I think you have to be aggressive tomorrow. There's no way you cannot be aggressive, because you're also missing Leonard Williams. Yeah. How do you combat that? You can't just ask Jahad Ward to play the deep tackle. You can't just rely on that. You got to do something else in addition to that, and I think you have to blitz.
And by the way, Leonard Williams is very underrated by some Giants.
Oh, my God.
And I understand his contract is very high, and I understand, that people that don't look at the game intently every play and they just look at the box score and see that Leonard Williams didn't have a sack last week, say, well, what impact did he have? Watch the game. Leonard Williams last week had a huge impact. He was getting interior pressure time and time again. The sack that O'Shane Ximines got, you might as well have given it to Leonard Williams. He was forcing Mayfield out of the pocket, and you're absolutely right. Leonard Williams not being out there hurts this defense. And I know the defense did a great job with him out for those next 5 or 6 drives, but he's certainly a big impactful player, and it'll be up to Wink to come up with a defensive game plan in order to work around that. And so far, Wink's done a tremendous job. I mean, he had Jahad Ward and O'Shane Ximines out there. He was still able to generate pressure and do a great job against some of these offenses. So I still think Wink could do it. I don't think this defense will be able to thrive for 5 or 6 weeks if Leonard Williams isn't in there. He's super important, but I do think against Cooper Rush, we could get by.
How about this, Tana? I think one of the things I'm looking forward to is, does Wink tomorrow go back to the Giants era of Kiwanuka, Tuck,
Are you talking about the NASCAR package?
The NASCAR package with O'Shane Ximines, who's had a very impressive start. How about O'Shane Ximines, a guy that people counted out, a guy that people were like, wait, I can't believe this guy's making the team. He was a cut candidate, and give this coaching staff credit. We talk about good coaching. They saw something in him to very early put him a big part of the rotation when the depth chart was released. Some people were surprised he was as high as he was. Like, they saw something in him. Give this coaching staff credit for identifying that, but also give the player credit for just getting better. Like, he's been receptive to the coaching, and he's produced. He's proved he's shown the coaching staff why they gave him a shot. Because when we talk about, Joe Shane coming here and none of these players are married to him, he's gonna cut a lot of these Gettleman picks. And O'Shane Ximines was a guy, when they already drafted Thibodeaux, they already had Ojulari. Where was his role early in the offseason? And then now we're talking about how we can get him on the field tomorrow. How about that?
O'Shane Ximines has been tremendous. I mean, I think he is the highest grade of anybody in this defense. I don't go too much by that, but he's been tremendous. He's been a lot more than you could have expected him to be going into the year. And yeah, I think, for everybody that's flipping out about, and I said this a couple days ago as well, for everybody that's flipping out about Daboll's decision not to have Kenny Golladay in the lineup, to only give him 2 offensive snaps, look to the O'Shane Ximines decision. Because you're on Twitter just like me, JD. You see the stuff that goes on. 95% of Giants fans they were flipping out. They were making Quincy Roche out to be like he was Michael Strahan, and they were saying it was the worst decision of all time to put O'Shane Ximines even on this roster. Brian Daboll made that decision, and he looks pretty smart after 2 weeks. So that's all I'm saying. Before you crucify him, he has a reason for not having Kenny Golladay out there last week. He has a reason.
And this is how I know he's getting better. There was a play, I think it was the opener, where he had a clear shot at the quarterback, and he stood there. Like, he didn't attack the quarterback. And even Daboll, they called Daboll on TV saying, what are you doing? to O'Shane Ximines, because there was a snap where he could have went straight at the quarterback, and he kind of he jumped to try to contest the throw instead of just going straight at the quarterback. Last week, there was a similar play, and he went right at Baker Mayfield. Like that, those type of little details there shows me the player's getting better and the coaching is registering to the player. And so I wonder if on a third down, 3rd and 8, do you put O'Shane and Tibbs on the outside and you put Ojulari on the inside with Jihad Ward or with a Dexter Lawrence or
nothing would surprise me. Here's what I'm gonna say.
That's what the Giants used to do with Tuck. They put Tuck inside because Tuck was more of the stronger type player to be on the inside. And out of Tibbs, Ojulari, and O'Shane, I would say Ojulari's maybe the strongest, heaviest player. Maybe he could play some inside on 3rd down. I would get, in addition to the blitz, I would get creative and I would, put some packages on 3rd down for O'Shane.
I think he's going to. And I think there's gonna be a lot of packages out there where we have a lot of DBs. You saw that last week. We had some packages where we had 4 safeties on the field at once. So it's all going to be dependent on the matchup too. The team we're going up against, what he feels is the most important package to have out there more often than not. But I definitely think we're going to have packages out there where we have 3 or even sometimes possibly 4 edge rushers out there at once. Wink that's what he's all about. He's about deception. He's about unpredictability. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if tomorrow there's a package out there with O'Shane Ximines involved with those other 2. Anthony, what's going on, man? Stand up, Dana. Can't wait for the game and watch along tomorrow night. Much love, brother. Appreciate it, man. And yeah, I can't wait to call the game with you guys.
Say that we got 600 in the chat. I think people are excited about tomorrow.
We got 600 in the chat with the Yankees game going on. Yeah. We got Aaron Judge going for number 61. And I think it's a rain delay, if I'm being honest. So I'm not going to take too much credit. But we got 61 we got over 600 people in the chat. By the way, JD, I got to ask the chat real quick. I need a score prediction from the chat. Tomorrow night, Giants, Cowboys. Type it in the chat. I want to see what's getting the highest consensus. What's your score prediction, JD?
Let me see. How's it gone so far here? We won the first game, 21 points. We needed a 2-point conversion.
What do you think of this prediction? 19. What do you think of this one, JD? What do you think of that prediction? I think he's spot on.
I mean, if that turns out, Taylor, I think Daniel Jones might get a contract extension after the game.
No, I didn't mean to interrupt you though, man. Tell me your prediction.
No, I think, man, it looks, if you look at the first 2 games, it looks like that 20 points is like the magic number.
Yeah.
To get. So I'm gonna say 20. I'm gonna say 2016 New York Football Giants.
2016 New York Football Giants. I have the same score, only one more. I think I had 2017. Now, my prediction video, I've been consistent. I've picked against the Giants every week because it's been working. Bit of my picks against the spread, I gave my real honest prediction, what I think is going to happen. And I have a 2017 New York Giants. So I'm right with you. That's about, I think it's going to be high teens, low 20s. I think it's going to be a really close game. But I do think we're going to find a way to pull this out. I just want to make sure I didn't miss somebody because I pulled up. I think maybe I didn't. Hopefully I didn't. If I did miss Super Chat, I apologize. I don't think I did. Danny Dudd says, I could see the Cowboys going 8-man in the box all game versus Saquon. I have zero hope in DJ. Well, your name's Danny Dudds. So I figured you wouldn't have any any hope in DJ making the plays. And listen, that's what I'm not going to say it's going to be all game. But, yeah, they're going to do what the Panthers did. They're going to put 8 in the box. They're going to be aggressive. They're going to blitz. And Micah Parsons is going to be a problem. And there's going to be times where Jones has to make plays. He's not going to throw the ball 40 times, just like Brady didn't, just like Burrow didn't when they went up against this team. But he's going to have to make the plays. He's going to have to convert on 3rd down at some times, and we'll see if he can do it.
And Tana, the 2 games that Cooper Rush has been a starter for the Dallas Cowboys are the 2 games they've won against the Vikings and the Cincinnati Bengals. Both games, they scored exactly 20 points in those wins. So it seems like, obviously it shows you that with Cooper Rush, they may not be a juggernaut of an offense. In those 2 games, those 2 teams at that point, their defenses weren't great, and they scored 20 points to win the game. So it looks like if we can hold them under 20, and we can get to that 20-point mark, Giants are in good shape to win the football game. But I think that's going to be the fight between both teams, is who can get to that 20-point mark, because it's been a challenge for the Giants so far this season. It's been a challenge for the Cowboys in the 2 games that Cooper Rush has played for them.
Yeah, and Promoter says, and I agree with what you said, first to 20 is winning this game. Promoter says dump offs to Saquon against the yeah, I think, like I said earlier, I think they have to find a way to get Saquon involved in this passing game in some way, shape, or form. I think they have to do a better job at that than they've done the first 2 weeks. He has 8 catches, but hasn't really had an explosive play in the passing game. And if they do blitz, that's a good way to take advantage of it. It's well set up screen passes, things like that. So,
do you have a player that you're 100% confident will have a good game, and do you have a player that
Andrew Thomas?
So you're okay. So Andrew Thomas is a player that you're 100% confident is
that's
going to show
week.
up, no doubt about it.
He's showing up. He's showing up.
Doesn't matter if it's even against Micah. I mean, if he plays well tomorrow, it's a big deal because he's going to go.
I really think Marcus Lawrence. I really think they're going to put Mike on Neal. But I'm going to tell you what, even if they put Mike on Andrew Thomas, I'd have confidence. I think Andrew Thomas is that good.
And who would you say? And I agree with you. I think Andrew Thomas is probably your best bet.
I would prefer they put Micah Parsons on Andrew Thomas.
The matchup that I'm looking for tomorrow. I know the defensive lines they're going to grab all the headlines on both sides of the teams, with Micah, with Tibbs, and who they're going. How about Adoree Jackson versus CeeDee Lamb? CeeDee Lamb has gotten 10+ targets. Yeah. Both games, every game so far this season. So in other words, it looks like he's going to get targeted. Adoree Jackson hasn't received much targets so far because he's been so good. So I think I'm looking at that matchup because, Tana, you talk about underrated players. I think he's had such an underrated season to the point where people acting like we expected this, like we saw this coming. You saw Adoree last season. He had a solid year, but as a QB2, I don't know that he had a great year. And he was defending, number 2
I thought last year he met his contract. I wouldn't say he exceeded it, but he met it. He was good.
And then this season, you're asking a 5'10" corner that is a QB2 to now be the guy in a system where you're going to be on an island a lot of the time. And he's responded more than I even expected. I mean, the guy's not giving up receptions. Like, I thought he would see more targets and it would be more of a challenge for him. I mean, it's only been, 2 games, but man, he's responded very well. And so I think tomorrow is going to be another test for him versus CeeDee Lamb, because I think the Cowboys are gonna target him. And not because of Adoree. I just think that CeeDee Lamb has to be a part of the game plan, and that's going to be an opportunity for Adoree to show on national television that this is going to be the new cornerback of the Giants as a number 1 guy. And another thing people don't realize, Adoree Jackson is not a Wink style corner. Wink likes these 6'1", 6 foot. Look at Wink's history. Look at the Ravens. They like these big corners. There's a reason why they wanted Sauce. Like, there's a reason. If Sauce would have been there, they would have drafted Sauce.
I'm going to tell you this right now, and take this for what you will. I have a guy from time to time that messages me on Twitter that I consider semi-reliable. He told me about a week before the draft that Sauce was 2nd overall on the Giants draft board. And I believe that. Second.
And I believe it because when the Cowboys have a solid reputation for drafting well, especially in the early rounds, the Cowboys had Sauce as their, I think it was their top 2 or top player in their board.
I'm going to tell you right now what the Cowboys had. For any Cowboy fan listening, before you go and say that, because Cowboys fans, rightfully so, I'll give you credit, Cowboys. You guys draft very well. Very well. One of the best teams in terms of drafting over the last 10 years. Their list came out, JD, to the public. Yeah. Their number 1 player on their board was Kayvon Thibodeaux. Their number 2 player on their board was Evan Neal. Giants got both of them.
Yeah.
That was the Cowboys that came out. Came out to the public. It was Neal and Thibodeaux were their top 2 players.
Now that you say that, I do remember the snapshot, and yes, that's how it turned out to be. And so Wink likes, we talked about Darnay Holmes, and we talked about some of these corners that are not really the prototypical Wink style corners. I think that's a reason why they drafted Flott. A lot of people talk about that he's light, but he's still 6'1", and Wink just likes big, long corners to play his system so he can get aggressive. And I think that's why they're very high on Flott. And I actually thought he was going to start. I know some people didn't think so, but I just think this team is confident in their draft picks. They're going to put him out there. You saw that with Dane Belton, another big safety, Dane might be 6 foot or 6'1".
Yep. And he's versatile too.
He's versatile. He can move. When you look at, going into the season, you're Adora, and you're like, well, this coaching staff, I'm not really their prototypical, one cornerback, and you play this way, man, give Adora a lot of credit.
Adora's been great. I think I said it on Twitter like 5 days ago. The most underrated player, in my opinion, on the Giants is Adora Jackson. And I really believe that. I think he's been great this year, and hopefully it continues. I will say, I think part of the reason why he hasn't given up a ton of yards, and a big reason why they're not throwing at him, we got Cordell Flott on the other side. So if you're game plan and you're like, let's pick on that other guy, let's go after Aaron Robinson, let's go. But regardless, he's been great. Adoree Jackson's been great for the Giants, and for the most part, he's been great since he's been here. I know he had the dropped interception last year that everybody got on him for, and I understand it. But overall, I thought he had a good year last year, and he's playing even better this year. And hopefully, stays on the field. He's been great for the Giants. We needed that. We need him to continue to play at that level.
And just real quickly on that, I think that's also a reason people were wondering why Aaron Robinson was asked to play on the outside and maybe not keep him on the inside. I think they're going to give Aaron Robinson a legitimate shot to be a cornerback of the future here because of his measurables. Aaron Robinson ran in the 40. I think it was like a 4.34 during his college tape at his pro day. And he's also a 6 foot corner. And he's very strong. So I think although he's not a Joe Shane draft pick, he meets the measurables of what Wink is looking for. And I think he's going to get a legitimate shot to prove himself to be a long-term player here at one of the cornerback positions.
I agree. And I think he's going to get a fair opportunity. And if it doesn't work on the outside, maybe you shift him back to the slot. But I definitely think he's going to be a guy that gets a look here for a while. He's definitely, once he gets back healthy, he's going to be back in the starting lineup. Rover, thank you, man. He says, amazing guy says the Giants beat the Cowboys at home in 2016. Was it a prime? I can't even remember. It probably was a primetime game. I don't remember, but that's what the comment was. Well, in 2016, we beat the Cowboys both times. That was the year that the Cowboys went 13-3. We made the playoffs and we swept them. 2 of their 3 losses were to us. And I do think, if I recall, one of them were on primetime. If I recall, I think one of them were. So yes, that's.
Taylor, who would you guess gets the most receiving yards for us tomorrow?
Most receiving yards tomorrow. Wow.
That's why I asked, because it's definitely a question.
Wow. You know what?
You're gonna say Kenny Golladay?
I'm gonna say Kenny Golladay.
Oh,
I'm gonna say Kenny Golladay.
Wow.
Now the safe bet is probably Richie James, because he's been probably the most targeted. Or Shepard is probably a safe pick. I just got that feeling. You know when you got a feeling, man? I just got that feeling, man.
I'll tell you what, if he can get a touchdown tomorrow, you talk about a potential flip of just morale, just the locker room, just the team. To do that on Monday Night Football, I know when he scores, a lot of fans are going to be like, finally, and all that stuff. But just for the player, just for the team, there's one thing he said that was interesting, where he said that even players have said what's going on. I mean, a lot of people say, why you're dry snitching? But at the same time, him saying that tells me he has some players in that locker room that are supporting him. And it could be some wide receivers. But for him to say that tells me, I don't know who. Maybe it's the quarterback. Maybe it's, I don't know. But evidently, he does have some players rooting for him in that locker room, because they also feel that he should be on the field. So
Hey,
I think they should look. Just sometimes there's a moment that comes that could just elevate the team. I think him getting a touchdown, I think you'll see if he does, you'll see the team rally around him and cheer him up because I think they feel for him. I know he's getting paid well, and we don't care because you're making money. But
yeah.
from a football standpoint, I mean, we need some explosive plays, man. So it's not a bad pick.
I hope it's him, man. I do. Listen, I know Giants fans are down on him as they should be. He's done nothing. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't like everything that he said in that interview, but we need him. We need a guy that can open up, that stretch the field this week. And I'm hoping it's him, man. I hope he shows up. I don't even catch for 200 yards. I don't even need 100 yards, but make a couple of big plays down the field. That's what I'm hoping for. And hopefully they give him the opportunity. I just got that feeling. And maybe it's just a hunch. It's not like, but I just got a feeling that Golladay is going to have a pretty good game tomorrow.
And he had, you saw that clip of how hard he went. I've never seen him run as fast as he did. There was a clip, I think it was
They said he
Stapleton posted it, and a few people
practice this week.
There was one play where he caught the ball, then right after he ran a sprint, and I'm like, what? That might have been the fastest you've run as a Giant. So maybe he's a big part of the game plan this week because he certainly looks motivated.
King Josh says Giants has gotta put up some points. Period. I think 20 is the magic number. I mean, I want 100, but I think 20 is the magic number. They got to get to 20. 20, I think we win the game.
Let me ask you a question, Tate, because I saw somebody spamming a name.
Okay.
Let's say we lose tomorrow.
Okay.
And we don't put up a lot of points. Put up 13 points. Wide receiver rotations not looking good.
Right.
Tony is going to be out another week.
Right.
Wandell, starting to get together. A few more weeks go by, right? Odell's healthy. Mm-hmm. Odell says, you know what? I know you guys don't have cap space.
Right.
F it. Let's make it work. He even tweeted something out. If this tweet gets 200,000 likes or something, I'm coming.
Yeah, I retweeted it. He didn't
something like that.
Play. He said he'd show up at the game.
Okay.
On Monday
night. Well, he still flirted with the team.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting because there was a report today on Pro Football Talk where it said that the Giants were very aggressive trying to get Cole Beasley here. Mm-hmm. And the report was that in addition to the Giants, it was the Panthers and the Saints. So when you look at those three teams, they're not Super Bowl contenders. And it said that Cole Beasley waited, and then now the Bucs called, and he went to the Bucs, and that Tom Brady called Dable to thank him for not closing the deal. This is Pro Football Talk. There's a report today, came out like about an hour before we went live.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, and that Tom Brady called Dable, FaceTimed them, and thanked them for them not closing the deal on Cole Beasley. I mean, it's interesting news because it tells me that the Giants are looking.
Well,
right?
There was a report that came out like 4 days ago that I think I read that Joe Schoen was FaceTiming free agent receivers. They just didn't go into specific names. But I think it was from Pro Football Talk also, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So it shows that the Giants are looking. And so because of that, and it also said that, Cole Beasley was looking for an opportunity to win. The Bucs called and he sees it as opportunity, blah, blah, blah. He's there. Does it ever get to a point where, you're winning and you want to go to the next level and you want to just say, you know what? Let's take a chance on Odell. If Odell's willing to meet you in terms of the contract, would you do it?
Yeah. Quick answer. Yeah. If I was Joe Schoen and I felt Odell could help me win football games, and like you said, he's willing to come here for next to nothing. Yeah. Do I think that's going to happen? No. Because I think Odell is going to. All right, let's not think about it from a New York Giants fans perspective, because I know Giants fans, the majority of them would love to have Odell back, and I understand our wide receiving core is completely banged up. Who knows what he's going to be coming off the injury, but I certainly understand it. But let's put our Odell cap on. Money aside, if I'm Odell's agent, okay, what's a better option for him? Because he's going to get a 1-year contract regardless of where he goes, coming off the ACL tear, which is basically a proven contract for him to hopefully get another decent-sized contract, a multi-year deal if he performs like he was with the Rams. You go to the Giants, with this dysfunctional offense, this offensive line, Daniel Jones, who to this point in his career has not been the most reliable quarterback, or you go to a team like the Packers to play with Aaron Rodgers, who's dying for some help at the wide receiver position, or you go to the Chiefs with Pat Mahomes, whose number one receiver right now is Juju Smith-Schuster, or you go back to the Rams, who could use a little help right now. They're up as a – so to me, and I know Giants fans don't want to hear this because everybody, OBJ. But realistically speaking, JD, I don't think it makes sense from OBJ's perspective outside of just being like, New York Giants, yeah. But I just don't see it making a lot of sense.
The only way that I could see it make sense for him, and obviously this would be more of a sales pitch by the Giants, is if the Giants used all that and they turn it around and they say, just like we don't have wide receivers, just like we don't have this and we don't have that, but we can have you and we can actually boost your value because we'll make you a big part of our offense. We'll make sure that we incorporate you. You could be, again, a number one wide receiver where he would be in a great, you would think, the system with Mike Kafka and Brian Dable. So like the route tree for him will be an impressive one that he would be open to. So that the playbook can be a question mark. Yeah. The coaching staff wouldn't be a question mark. The city wouldn't be a question mark. But again, is the team, is that enough for him?
And is the money? Is he willing to come here for pennies? Because that's what we could offer right now.
When you got Cole Beasley has 3 offers with the Panthers, Saints, and Giants, and he doesn't take any of those 3, and he's like, I'm going to sit and wait. He takes the Bucks. That's Cole Beasley. So you would think Odell is another level of, I'm definitely trying to wait and see if one of these top quarterbacks, because you're going to be on the spotlight.
I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest. That's what he should do. If I was his agent, that's what I would tell him. Because I would be like, it's about you getting a 3 or 4 year deal. For you to get a 3 or 4 year deal, your best chance is to play with Aaron Rodgers. Your best chance is to play with Pat Mahomes. Your best chance is to play with the Rams, where you flourished last year. That's just my honest opinion. Now, would I welcome him for next to nothing to come back and play with the Giants, as depleted as our wide receiving core is? Yeah. Why the hell not? So, yes, I just don't see that being like a reality. People bring up Lamar Jackson. Yeah. But I don't see it being a reality. I don't think that's going to happen. I think the Ravens are going to retain him. But in that world where you bring him in for a prove it 1 year next to nothing contract, yeah, he can't be worse than Kenny Golladay. And he'd make the fans happy. So, yeah, but I don't think it's going to happen. But we'll see. Maybe I'll be wrong. And Irish says last time we beat the Cowboys at home on primetime was 2016. Okay. John says, do you think Kenny steps up for DJ tomorrow? Well, I already answered it. JD, do you think he steps up for DJ tomorrow?
I think, oh man. I honestly think if he gets the opportunity, so let's go on the basis that we think he's gonna play 60 to 70% of the snaps. Right? That's a good enough percentage to make an impact on the game. If Trayvon Diggs is on him, I think he has a tough night. Just because Trayvon Diggs is a big corner, he's a big receiver, and Trayvon Diggs is a corner that one thing that he's good at is if he locates the ball, he can contest some of these plays. He is a good corner to play against a Kenny Golladay type of style receiver. A guy that doesn't separate much and everything has to be contested. That's one of Diggs' strengths. Now, Diggs' weakness is he's susceptible to double moves. He's susceptible to speed. Right. He's susceptible to speed. He's susceptible to maybe a Wan'Dale Robinson, a Kadarius Toney type, maybe a Richie James type, like these more shiftier receivers. You get, and I'm going to be interested to see if the Giants use a lot of cross routes. Because that's one of Diggs' weakness too. When he has to go from one side of the field to the next and chase a wide receiver, those type of routes he struggles with. But if the assignment is Diggs, I think he has a tough night. But if it isn't Diggs and it's Anthony Brown, who is their second corner, or Jordan Lewis, who's their nickel corner, they're 5'10" each. I think he has a good night. I think it all depends on the matchup.
So it's all matchup dependent for you. But by the same token, then maybe Shepard has a good night if they pair him up on Golladay. So
now, if Golladay has a good night against Diggs, that is a great sign for the New York Giants going forward.
yeah, because like you said, it's not the ideal fit for Golladay. He's tall, he's 6'2", he's athletic, he's so yeah, it's more you'd probably want more of a speed guy lined up on Diggs, right? Yeah, That's a good point by you. I wasn't even thinking about. Trace, man, thank you very much, man. Just stopping by before work. Hopefully you're still here, man. Let's get this W. I know we're going to be 3-0. Trace is one of my most positive subscribers. Love him. He said we're going 17-0 at the beginning of the year. So far,
Eric Garrison in the chat says, is this a 24-hour stream? Yes, we're going to go straight from now. We're going to go right into the game day. Bad Dog is going to come in right before the game to call. We're going live all the way to the game.
No, man, not a 24-hour stream tonight, Eric. I got work tomorrow, so no, definitely not a 24-hour stream, but maybe one day. Danny Dudd says, you think OBJ would want to play with Daniel Jones? If the money was right, yeah. If the money was right, I think he would. To be honest with you, we can't offer him the money, though. So I think if the money was right, he'd definitely be willing to come back here, but we don't have the money to offer him. Chris Lee says, who is the most important player for this game? Barkley or Evan Neal is my pick. It's not a bad pick. I'm going to try to give you give me your most important player, then I'll give mine. I'm going to think about this for a bit. Outside of those two. And let's exclude Daniel Jones, because you could always say the quarterback's the most important. So let's leave him out of it.
The most important player in this game for me is going to be Saquon Barkley. Yeah. It's probably going to be Barkley on the obvious end, if you want, and only Barkley because a lot of the game plan I think is going to be revolving around him. I do think, if we want to talk more into the game plan, I think the game is going to get to a point, because I think the Cowboys may respond well to stopping the run because they know that's what the Giants are going to do. And if it plays out that way, the quarterback is going to have to win you the game. He's going to have to make some throws. But I will say Saquon Barkley on the more obvious end, from an X factor standpoint. If you're looking at under the radar, more of another position, I'm going to say, wow. I'm going to say Adoree Jackson. I think Adoree Jackson has to shut down or
do you think he'll mirror CeeDee Lamb? Do you think he'll move with him?
I think he will, because Wink did that in the Carolina game with Flott and Adoree. And a lot of people thought actually that Flott was gonna go with Robbie Anderson, the 6'3" wide receiver, because he's more of a speedster. Robbie Anderson is also light. Flott is a light corner, so they thought that the matchup, and Wink did it the other way around, where Flott was at Moore and Adoree was traveling with Robbie Anderson. So I think tomorrow is definitely a game where you don't want to put Flott on CeeDee Lamb on Monday Night Football on the rookie's second game. He got beat by Moore, and Lamb is a better route runner than him. So I think he will travel on CeeDee Lamb. And because of that, when you look at it from an offensive perspective on the Dallas side, you don't want to get a CeeDee Lamb going tomorrow on national TV. You don't want to give them extra confidence. It's going to be already a challenge because we have to stop the run with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott. So I think Adoree Jackson is under the radar most important player tomorrow.
I'll give my under the radar, I guess. Sexy Dexy. I think Dexter Lawrence, especially with Leonard Williams out, has to get interior pressure in this game. You have to make it uncomfortable for Cooper Rush, like Leonard Williams did last game, and Dex. By the way, Dex has played really well this year. Dex had maybe the most important play in the game last week when he was able to chase down Baker Mayfield, force that 4th and 1, and then the crowd got them to get the full start on 4th and 1 when they were going to go for it, and we forced a punt. But yeah, I think the interior pressure in this game from Dexter Lawrence is going to be huge. He has to show up. I'm not saying he's got to get sacks. He's got to make it uncomfortable for the quarterback, maybe provide sacks for blitzers off the edge. Maybe Kayvon Thibodeaux gets the sack. Who knows? But I think Dexter Lawrence has to have a good game in the middle on this defensive line for this New York Giants defense. So
And that's an amazing pick, Tana, because Connor McGovern, who is their starting left guard, is going to be out tomorrow.
yes, he is.
And their, last year's 7th round draft pick out of Nebraska, 7th round pick last season, Matt Farniok, who's a 6'5", 311 offensive lineman, is going to be the starter there at left guard. We'll see if Peters will be active tomorrow, but it looks like the Cowboys are going to stick to the same lineup that they had last week, with Tyler Smith on the left side, Matt Farniok at left guard. You have Tyler Biadasz is their center, Zach Martin, who's probably a lot happier that Leonard Williams won't be playing tomorrow at right guard, although I don't know that he should be that concerned because he's an all-pro player himself. And then you have Terrence Steele at right tackle. So this is when you look at more in-depth matchups, I think that's a matchup that the Giants look at it as, okay, Leonard Williams is out, but their left guard is out. Let's put Dexter on that side. Let him cause some havoc there. And he's responded well. And I also like the fact that Wink gave him an extremely good compliment where he said, I've never seen a lineman that big make a play like that. Yeah. And where he's coming from and the defenses that he's coached, that's a compliment that can go under the radar. But when we talk about players that are not, Joe Shane draft picks. Everybody is under an evaluation this year. I think Dexter's a guy that they're very interested here.
Oh, they already gave him the 5th-year rookie option before he started.
Right. And I think they're looking at him beyond that. I think they did that because they're like, we want to lock him up an additional year because, in the future he might be a big money player. And it's very important season for him because, for the draft position that he was drafted, he's been okay. He hasn't been, you know what I mean? Like I expect a little bit more, Fletcher Cox, like some of these D tackles that get drafted there, you expect a little bit more, but he's not getting in sacks, but in production and impact, he's certainly making an impact this season so far.
Yeah, he's been great so far this year, and we need that. I think I would say him, but Adoree Jackson is obviously a very good pick too. You could say Adoree Jackson every week. Like he's our most reliable corner in a defense where we're going to be super aggressive. But yeah, in this game specifically, I think Deck's definitely going to be a big part. Andrew says, JD, love that you talk with Tane. I love him talking with JD. But just want to shout out Andrew.
I think is this the first time we're talking Giants? I know we've done Knicks. I mean, obviously you did on my channel. But on this channel,
I think I had you for a roundtable once for talking Giants, maybe. I think, but okay. I could be wrong.
I gotta look at it. But yeah, I definitely love talking Giants. I could talk anything with Tana, man.
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely want to talk some Knicks with you at some point as the season gets underway for sure. What do you think of the Knicks so far? I don't mean to go off topic, but obviously, that's what you do mainly on YouTube. You talk Knicks. I'm a big Knicks fan. What do you think of the Knicks offseason so far?
It's certainly been interesting because I think that they had a certain game plan and they can say whatever they want to say. It didn't work out the way that they had it planned out because I think that they looked at this offseason and I think the Donovan Mitchell stuff might have caught him off guard, sort of, because maybe they thought one more year they could get him. Because it still would be interesting that they would have signed Jalen Brunson, who's 6'1", and then Donovan Mitchell, who's 6'1". I don't know if that was part of the actual offseason game plan, but I think they had to get Jalen Brunson because you had to lock that in. Like, in other words, imagine if they would have put in, their offseason was all about Donovan Mitchell. Well, you didn't get Donovan Mitchell. That means Jalen Brunson would have gone elsewhere. That would have been a disaster of an offseason. So I think that's why, when people say, I don't know if that was their game plan because there will be two small guards. I think because free agency was first, they had to lock up something, and he was their top choice. So they went there, and you stabilized the point guard position. Donovan Mitchell stuff didn't work out, but I think the main story this season so far with what the roster is right now is the kids getting enough playing time to showcase their talents and develop the young players. We'll see. There's a ton of headlines with this team. RJ Barrett got an extension. What type of, Is he going to be the second option on this offense? Julius Randle, will he have a bounce back season? Will he even be here for the whole season? Like, there's just so many different headlines. The head coach, I think, is coaching for his job, in my opinion, because, it's year 3, and I think, he's not the most popular with his style and the way the fan base wants the team to operate. And so, I think tomorrow is media day for them, and Tuesday is their first practice. So I'm interested to see some of the player interviews tomorrow. And listen, man, let's see what happens. And, I definitely would like to talk to you about the Knicks in a future show.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, really quickly, my outlook on the Knicks is I like the Jalen Brunson signing. I liked it when they made it. The contract didn't bother me. I think he's like the 14th or 15th highest paid point guard right now, if I'm not mistaken, based off the maybe it's the yearly average or what he's getting paid this year, whatever it was. And I look at him as a guy that's ascending as a player. He's still young, didn't really get an opportunity to be the ball dominant player, run the point to a true extent. Well, he was with Dallas because he had Luka Doncic on the team. So I think he's a guy kind of ascending. And we know that the New York Knicks have needed a point guard for years. He should only help players like Randall, help players like Mitch, help players like Barrett. We needed a point guard. He was the best point guard on the market. He's young, fits the timeline of the team. I thought that was a really good pickup. Bringing Mitch back, I'm completely fine with. You always worry about injuries with him. Obviously, we were all disappointed not getting Donovan Mitchell. But I told you several times, man, by no means did I want them to trade R.J. Barrett. I'm glad that R.J. Barrett is still in New York, Nick. I'm glad that the New York.
And he would have been gone. He was out of here.
He would have been gone.
He was out of here. A lot of fans were surprised to hear that because everybody, the way the reports were looking, it was looking like the Knicks could make a deal with our RJ. I always thought that was a slim chance because you're a franchise and you're gonna make a move with Donovan Mitchell. You're not gonna get RJ back. So it looked like he was gonna be part of the deal. So. Yeah, I'm also excited that he's back, and he certainly has a lot to prove as well with the contract.
I'm excited for Barrett this year. I'm excited for Barrett this year. I think he's going to get an expanded role in the offense. He did it. I mean, last year he averaged 24 points over the second half, but obviously he's got to be more efficient. But I think he's going to have a bigger role in the offense this year, and I'm excited to see how he grows as a player. I think he will be the number one guy this year in this offense, and hopefully we could trade Randall. I know it's not going to happen before the year, but hopefully from within season because we got to find a way to get Obi more minutes. We got to develop him more. We got to develop these younger guys more, if not to keep them to up their trade value, for the future. So we got to get these guys on the court more this year. Ayub said, "Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off."
No, I was going to say the Niners Broncos game is 11-10 with 4 minutes left in the fourth. Broncos.
I saw it was 7-5. Who's winning?
The Broncos 11-10. They have the ball.
10?
They have the ball though, second and goal. It looks like so they might score.
They're about to score a touchdown.
Or I think they already scored. No, they did, and it's 11-10 now.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So
what a horrible game that is. That's gonna be.
And how about the head coach Nathaniel Hackett hiring an assistant to help him with game management situations? Are you kidding me? He hired a guy at the end of this week. And somebody had said that hire was actually for Aaron Rodgers or something. Like they were like foreseeing potentially Aaron Rodgers going there, and that's why he was technically hired. And then they had to pivot to Russell Wilson.
Oh, that's exactly what it was. A lot of people speculated they brought Hackett in there because they thought they were going to get Rodgers because of his connection. Yep.
And then they had to pivot to Russell Wilson, and then he makes that decision. And now he's
I'm gonna tell you right now, and I know he's a
wait. When you got to do that, Tater, I already think his days are numbered.
How in the world? And I know you got a kicker with a big leg, but let's factor in that he plays at Mile High. You should be making kicks 5 or 6 yards longer than normally in a stadium like that. That game wasn't in Mile High; it was in Seattle. How do you elect to kick a 64-yard field goal over your $500 trillion quarterback, 4th and 5? You traded all these assets to bring him in. You're paying him a fortune. How do you have more faith in your kicker making a 64-yard kick than your quarterback picking up a 4th and 5 from midfield? And it's not like Russell Wilson wasn't moving the ball that game. They fumbled the ball twice on the 1-yard line. They should have had over 30 points at that point. So I was bewildered, blown away when they decided to do that.
And if you want to relate it to the Giants, right, you want to relate the play and the situation. Rookie head coach on the Denver side makes a decision, goes with the kicker. Then you had a rookie head coach in the Giants, 2-point play, That's the game.
Yep.
That's the game.
Yep.
And he puts it in Saquon Barkley's hands. Saquon Barkley gets the play and actually gets contact behind the line of scrimmage and still gets the conversion.
That was all Barkley.
Dable said, he said it in the interview. He said, I looked at Kafka. What is a play you recommend? That's the play they recommended. Let's put it in his hands. That's what you do. You give this guy that money, and you're looking at also it was a 4th and 5 or something like that.
4th and 5.
And we're not looking at 4th and 12. Like, everything is mind-boggling about that situation, from the down and distance to the former Giant McManus too. So it's not like you're going with Adam Vinatieri or Graham Gano, right? Maybe if it was Gano, I would agree with the decision.
Gano, by the way, JD, and I said this earlier this week.
Maybe he's the X factor tomorrow. We haven't mentioned him.
He's the X factor every week. And for people that say that kickers don't matter, if Graham Gano was on the Titans, we're 0-1 because he's making that 47-yard field goal. And if he wasn't a Giant last week, we're 0-2. Graham Gano, you can make a very strong argument, is the MVP of the 2-0 New York Giants right now. And if it's not him, it's probably Wink. But
at the same time, it's hilarious and embarrassing because Dave Gettleman's probably saying, "Look, you guys are bitching about me, and the best guy I got you was a kicker. That's the best guy on my resume."
Well,
look at that.
You got to Andrew Thomas. You got to Andrew Thomas.
Right.
Who's been really
good.
But
I'm not going to give him a break. But
but
he's going to turn out to be. It's so funny because you hate it. Let's be honest. When you see football games decided by a kicker, I hate that, man. Because you talk about a right leg or guys just sitting there and then he just comes in and he decides the game on a kick. And how many times we see this around football, Tana, where your fate, your week, your mood is decided by a kicker.
But I'm glad we got him.
And we got a guy that, I mean, he makes me feel like Patriots and Colts fans when they had Adam Vinatieri. Like, I think when he's out there, I think it's automatic.
Yeah, he's incredible.
He's one of those kickers where even when he misses, the rare times he does, I'm not even upset. It's like, whatever. I know it's one kick.
Yeah, it's like when Mariano Rivera would blow a save, you'd be like, all right.
Yeah, exactly. And around football, there's a lot of kickers where they kick, you start to wonder. Because it seems like the biggest thing with kickers is the mental side. Like, they miss a kick, it's all in their head. Now you go into slumps. Mason Crosby has dealt a lot with that throughout his career. Nothing. I'm not worried about Gano even if he misses a kick because he is really a complete player at his position.
Yeah. So, I agree with you.
He might decide the game tomorrow. I'm telling you, he might decide the game. Low scoring game. It's, this offense, you might drive and you might get stuck and you're going to need Gano tomorrow.
Probably will. Ayub says, I swear if DJ is on the team next year, I'm riding. Oh, Ayub.
Well, let me prepare you, Ayub. You might not want to hear this, but if you want this team to keep winning, guess what? You might have no choice but to give Jones one more year, because if you are going to have the 18th pick, the 20th pick, the 22nd pick, around there, if this team ends up winning 9, 10, dare I say 11 games, like, you're looking at literally mortgaging the whole future to jump up so many spots.
That's if you can even do it. That's if you could even do it. Like, if you even have the option to mortgage the whole future, right? Because every team is looking for a quarterback this year. Nobody took one in the first round. Nobody outside of the Steelers. So every team is open to potentially taking a quarterback in this year's draft. So everybody says, "Oh, we could just trade up. It's going to be fine. We could trade up." It's not always the way it works.
and we've seen in the past drafts, this might be a draft, obviously depending on what teams end up being at the top of the draft. But I could totally see this draft going quarterback, and then you start to see position players. Like, I could totally see this draft. You got to have a top 4 or 5 pick to even draft one of the top guys, unless you're going to have confidence, which I do actually. Like, I do have confidence in Joe Shane being able to draft a quarterback in the second round and that guy potentially being the guy for us. Like, I do have confidence in Joe Shane. I mean, and we'll talk about these rookies more later this season. But if you look at that early on, like a lot of these players they drafted, the Giants were actually laughed at on national television, because if you recall, Tana, like DJ Davidson, he wasn't even on people's draft boards. And I'll tell you what, the small opportunities that Davidson has had, he's made an impact against the run.
He was good last week, Davidson. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Dane Belton looks like a potential future starter on this team.
Yeah.
Right. Let's see how their top 2 picks pan out. And Flott is starting right now. Let's see how, again, this is why it's an ongoing evaluation. But this draft class is looking pretty decent so far. And so that gives me confidence if let's see Beavers next year. Let's see how Michael McFadden pans out. But if this draft class pans out, especially the middle rounds, which is actually what Joe Schoen was one of the things that people were excited about based on his history and some of the influence he's had, then I'm confident in him getting a quarterback in whatever round he decides to get him. Like, I'm really confident in Joe Schoen's ability to bring us back to the promised land.
How could you not be? I mean, you got to have faith. You got to have faith. You got to give the guy.
And the guy's busting his ass going to these games. I mean, it seems like every Saturday there's a report. Joe Schoen is here. Joe Schoen is there. And he's still showing up to our games. Like, this is a guy that's really active scouting. And that gets me excited, Tana.
Yeah. And listen, I don't even want to think about the draft right now. Like, I'm thinking about tomorrow night. I'm thinking about trying to get to 3-0. I'll let that sort itself out at the end of the year. Like, for people that are being like, oh, you got to lose, you got to get a quarterback. JD, I got a question for you. Since 2004, since Eli entered the league, who's the best number 1 overall pick in the NFL? It's Eli Manning. It's Eli Manning. And half this fan base hated Eli Manning's guts. So, like, I'm like, there's no guarantee, no matter where you pick, that this quarterback is going to work out. There's no guarantee at all. Quarterback is the most unpredictable position in sports. What is more important to me as a Giants fan this year is developing this offense, having confidence that this team is going somewhere in the future, and having confidence that when we do bring in a quarterback, or if they decide to roll with Jones, if he improves this year, he is set up to succeed long-term. That's what's most important to me. We're not going to get the number 1 pick. We're not going to get C.J. Stroud. It's not happening. We're not going to be able to trade up to that. If we take a quarterback, we take a quarterback. But I'm not concerned with it right now. What I'm concerned with right now is this team improving, this line improving, the offensive scheme looking better over the course of the year, the defense looking better, the rookies improving, the younger players improving, Kayvon Thibodeaux, Evan Neal, Andrew Thomas, Xavier McKinney, the building blocks, right? So I'll worry about the draft in the offseason. Right now, we got a 2-0 football team. We're trying to get to 3-0 tomorrow night.
And I'll say this about Daniel Jones tomorrow. Listen, if you're going to throw a pick, you've only thrown one. But if you're going to throw a pick tomorrow, I want to see a contested play pick. Let it be, Richie James, he dropped the ball, he dropped the pass, it tipped off his hand, you should have caught it. And like, I hate those type of picks because it goes under the quarterback's stats and people look at it on the box score and they automatically say, well, look, it's the quarterback. So at least let it be something where it's a contested play or it wasn't your fault. But Tana, we can't, if he does those 2 throws, the throw he had against Tennessee and the one he had last game that could have been picks against this defense, against Trayvon Diggs, it will get intercepted tomorrow. If he has one of those throws where it's like, what were you looking at? Like that type of thing where it's just, you want to sit down like Dable did. And Dable wants to ask him, hey, what do you see there? Like he has to eliminate.
Yeah.
I don't care. Because I don't think when Dable was talking about him being aggressive and him not caring about throwing picks, I don't think he was talking about those type of plays. I think he's talking about more of, we try to hit the home run. We did a 40-yard pass, and the cornerback just made an outstanding play. Or, the wide receiver gave up, like something that's not your fault, or it was a contested play. I don't think he was talking about some of those 2 mistakes he made that didn't cost him, but could have cost him. Well, the one did cost him because it was the one against when Saquon Barkley ran that route. But then there was also one.
That was a horrible.
But there was also one last week that could have been intercepted on the far
pick
right
six.
side.
Would have been a pick 6 before the half.
Would have been a pick 6. Like those type of things, I think is what they're really trying to eliminate from his game.
Also, I want to specify, I didn't see the chat. I meant quarterbacks drafted number 1 overall. We were talking about the context of the quarterbacks.
And they took it as just number 1 picks overall.
Yeah, I'm not talking about Myles Garrett. I'm not talking. No, I should have specified. We were talking about the quarterback position specifically. The only one you could argue is Andrew Luck, but Andrew Luck only played 7 seasons or so in the NFL. Eli Manning is the best number 1 overall pick at the quarterback position since 2004. And Peyton Manning is the one before that in 98. But there's a ton of busts that went number 1 overall at the quarterback position. It is far from a guarantee at that position. Far from a guarantee. How could you say Trevor Lawrence is better than Eli Manning? Trevor Lawrence has played a year in the NFL. He might end up being. How could you say that? He looks really good.
Eli has a. I mean, I wonder who had a better rookie season because Trevor Lawrence, that rookie year.
He didn't look good his rookie year, but today he's looked good this year.
Oh no, yeah.
And I think he's gonna be good. And Joe Burrow obviously looks really good, but it's way too early. You can't say they're better than Eli Manning yet.
I mean, they were saying Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I guess I don't know either because Trevor Lawrence was actually tagged as a generational. They're saying he was the best prospect to come out at the quarterback position, Andrew Luck. So, I mean, is it more hype than because Eli had a lot of hype because of the name? So people were thinking, at that time that Eli was the best quarterback to come out since his brother. So I guess they both had the same type of hype.
Oh, Eli had
different circumstances.
Yeah. Eli also won number 1 overall in arguably one of the top 2 or 3 quarterback draft classes of all time. Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning. That's a pretty damn good quarterback class. And he was the highest thought of one in the class. So he was.
I'll tell you what, a lot of quarterback classes have a lot to live up to come up to with that type of, you're talking about.
I'm going to tell you what, though.
Hall of Fame players.
I'm thinking about recent quarterback classes, and it's funny how it evolves. The 2020 quarterback class looks really good. Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow, Tua now, and Hurts. And I hate Hurts, but you got to give him.
I can't give Hurts.
I hate Hurts.
I still want to wait. Oh man, Hurts is he's an interesting one because he's played well, but I still want to see a little bit more.
Yeah, but there's no way anybody in the chat saying Trevor Lawrence. No, you cannot say Trevor Lawrence yet. The guy hasn't even made the playoffs yet. Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowl MVPs.
Can I see him? Can I see him have a game-winning drive?
Can I see Trevor Lawrence?
Because to
even
be honest,
make a Super Bowl. He don't got to win it. Can I see him make a Super Bowl? Can I see him win a playoff game?
Yeah. And I think Danny Jones might have showed it for the first time against the Panthers that drive. Like that's what we want. Those were the things that Eli brought is clutch situations, big spots. That's where he showed up. And then it was something about the playoffs that he just turned into a different player. So, let's see that before we start anointing these guys better than Eli Manning.
And Ryan says prediction: Giants 77, Cowgirls -3. I sure hope so, man. And Bryce Kelly says, "Are you No, I'm not. If I didn't have my new job, I would be, but I gotta get up early for that. So otherwise, I would be going tomorrow. But I'm going to the game the next week against the Bears. I'll be at the 1:00 game against the Bears on the following Sunday. I wish I was going. The crowd's gonna be electric." Ayub says, "Yeah, you're right. Let's be mediocre and keep number 8." Oh God. I just can't get on board with it. I understand fans who feel that way. I cannot get on board with rooting for my team to lose. So I get a golden quarterback pick. I just can't do it. Can't do it. Especially when you see the hit rate for these quarterbacks. Half the time they fail. The early ones that go early in the draft.
And let's be honest too, Tana. It's such a tough position because I think the toughest. I actually think the position that Joe Shane is in is actually a lot tougher than people realize. Because although everyone's on board with the rebuilding, storyline and the patience, you got to give this front office patience. You have to give this head coach. We tried that with Sherman. We tried that with McAdoo. We tried that with Judge. And it's something about when you just lose. You don't think fans are already starting to look at Robert Saleh and saying, yeah, I might want this guy gone, right? You start to lose faith. So, yes, rebuilding can get you, I guess, that spot, but you have to be lucky and be on the right draft year, right? That's one. But the second thing is if this new regime tagged Dable as the guy, the guy needs confidence. Like he needs wins under his record too. Because you imagine we start 0-2 again. I mean, think about that stream, Tana, because I was watching it. When we started against the Tennessee Titans and the way we looked at that first half, what was everybody thinking? I was watching. I was looking at the chat. Same old Giants. What is this? This playbook. I thought it was like, and it's like, wait. I thought you guys were about rebuilding. You're already criticizing some of the, you know what I mean? So it's something about in the heat of the moment, man, we just want to win. And in football, head coaches don't get a lot of time in football, not in this generation. These coaches.
Here's what I'll say, JD. I think both of us try to be as objective and as fair as we can with all of our teams. But in the heat of the moment, when you're watching a game, that goes out the window. During a game, it's emotions, man. It's my take and anybody's take when they're watching a game and when they have an hour to breathe after the game and let it all soak in. It's different. In the game, I want to go 17-0. I'm all in so yeah, you're gonna get an emotional roller coaster during a game.
So that's why I think it's a tough spot for Joe Schoen because it's not like a Trevor Lawrence where they fired their coach or something. The coach comes in, you got your quarterback right there. You know what I mean? Like Urban Meyer's gone, the new coach, you have your franchise quarterback there. This regime has come in, they don't have their guy. And at the same time, you're trying to give this fan base some hope and some confidence. And listen, I don't care what nobody says. Winning is the only way to give confidence, especially in this market. It's winning. Think about if we would have a 5-win season this season, 5-4 wins. And you keep seeing Daboll on the post-game press conference telling you think Daboll's going to come up with some new magical press conference than what Joe Judge says or Pat Shermer or McAdoo. All these coaches are going to tell you the same thing. We're making progress. I know you guys are not seeing it in wins, but and what are we doing? We're traumatized here as a fan base. We're looking at it. Where, Daboll? Where is the progress that you're talking about? Because we're not winning.
Yeah.
So, it's a tough spot because they're coming in and they're going to have to find a way to get their guy. And Schoen is going to have to get creative the way this team is trending, especially we expect them to win tomorrow, right? So if that means they're 3-0. And unless they turn into the Panthers of this season, that was last season, unless they turn into that, then this might turn into a playoff team.
The other thing I want to say for everybody that thinks you have to get the first, and I'm not, obviously you get your pick of the quarterback, but look around the league at franchise quarterbacks. Josh Allen was the 4th quarterback taken in his draft. Actually, might have been 3rd. I think Rosen was the 4th. 3rd quarterback taken in his draft. Let's see who else we got here. Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson was the 5th quarterback taken in his draft. Obviously Brady we know was a 6th round pick. Obviously that's an anomaly, but he was a 6th round pick. Pat Mahomes was the 10th overall pick. He was the 2nd quarterback taken in his draft. So it's not, I get it, but at the same time, it's about building up your team for the best way you possibly can and letting these quarterbacks come into a situation where they could succeed. I'm not going to be about tanking. You guys can have your opinion. I think you're foolish after a 2-0 start to hope that this team loses. That's just my opinion, but you can have it. Chris says
it's an argument we're going to lose because
am I okay to get a franchise quarterback? Of course not. And Rodgers, Rodgers was nearly a 2nd round pick. Of course not. You need a franchise quarterback to win a Super Bowl in the NFL, but we're not going to get the first pick. We're not. So it is what it is. You have to trust Joe Schoen and the decision making process. And if they really like a quarterback, by all means, do what you got to do to get him. But they're not going to go out there and try to lose football games. It's not going to happen. If you want to root for them to lose so you could have a lottery shot at a quarterback, I understand it. I'm not doing
that. And they got to get it right because you know how this works, Tata. The day that this front office gets their guy, whether it's they commit to Jones or whether it's they draft their guy, that's the clock on them starts to tick because that guy doesn't pan out. When that quarterback is out the window, usually everyone else that drafted him is out the window too. So, Schoen is going to have to make sure that whenever he commits to whoever the quarterback of the future of this franchise is, they're going to have to hit on that guy too. So that's something that, GMs deal with. It's a pressure spot when you go into an organization that you don't know if the quarterback that's there is the future. And I have my questions whether, and I already told you privately how many wins I think this team needs to have. And even if they get, certain wins. Let's see how we got there, and that also, because I don't know that 8-9 wins means Jones is back. I think he has to have. I think this season has to be outstanding.
He's got to make the playoffs.
And even like I said, if we get 9 wins and we make the playoffs, I still think it's a question mark.
That's fair.
I still think it's a question mark because you're talking about 17 games. You went 9-8. I mean,
I do not want to be in quarterback hell. I do not want to be in quarterback hell. But just because you get a top 5 pick, the Jets have been in quarterback hell since 1972 or whenever Joe Namath fell apart. You know how many first-round quarterbacks they've had? The Cleveland Browns have been in quarterback hell forever. Now they traded for Deshaun Watson. You know how many first-round quarterbacks they missed on? There's a reason that horrible organizations continuously miss on early first-round quarterbacks because they don't put the proper team around them more often than not to be successful. But no.
So you think somebody in the chat says you can't replace DJ if we make the playoffs. So you think if we make the playoffs, 9 wins, he's back?
I'm not going to say for sure he's back. No. I'm not going to say.
So you do believe that there could be a scenario where we do make the playoffs and he's still not back?
Anything's possible. I'm not ruling anything out. If Joe Shane loves a quarterback and if Dan Jones plays okay and we make the playoffs, he could draft a quarterback if he feels like there's a guy there that he loves. The thing is, JD, what I'll say is before the draft takes place, we're going to know. Because Dan Jones is not going to be a free agent up until the end of April. So they are either going to sign DJ before the draft, or we're going to know going into that draft we're taking a quarterback. We're going to know. There's not going to be any mystery going into the draft.
And I wonder if it could get to a point where they tag him and they still draft a quarterback and they have him on a short leash for next season. I wonder if that's a scenario.
I definitely think that's it. If DJ's coming back, that is the scenario. I think it's going to be on a 1-year commitment. It could be like a 3-year deal that you could get out after 1, so you can move the money around with a franchise tag. You can't move any of the money around, but it's going to be a 1-year commitment. They're not giving him like a 5-year commitment if he's coming back.
Because if we make the playoffs, depending on obviously the way the draft goes, I think you might have to bring him back somehow. Unless, like I said, it depends on how the quarterback. Like if you can draft a quarterback, then you figure it out. But I guess it's a tough sell if we make the playoffs for you to just get rid of it.
It depends. Chris, we get it. You can miss on a quarterback. Who cares? I'm just telling you why I don't tank, because it's you guys, and I'm not. I think Ayub is a guy that's rooting for the team to lose. I could be wrong, but if you're a guy that's saying that you want to draft a quarterback, that would insinuate that you probably want them to get in the best position possible to take one. So, but I just can't get on board with that. I'm not rooting for my team to lose. That's just me.
I guess in basketball is easier because it's like.
Well, in basketball, one player makes such a big difference.
Right.
Like LeBron James adds 50 wins to a basketball team.
And I guess maybe in basketball is easier.
Which is why, by the way, they have a lottery in basketball and they don't have it in any other sport. Because one individual in basketball makes a much bigger difference than one individual in any other sport.
Right. So I guess it's just hard to tank in football. It's hard for me to get on board. It's one game a week. The day finally comes and it's like, I want you to lose.
Yeah.
It's just the sport, the structure of the sport is just hard for me to get on board with tanking.
Oh, maybe NHL does have a lottery. I don't watch hockey. I watch baseball, basketball, football. So I know that I didn't know. I don't watch hockey, but that's why basketball is a lottery, because one player changes a franchise by himself. I feel like we're like the Bears with Jones. I don't know. I'm gonna wait till Jones the quarterback right now. I'm gonna wait. We got 15 more games. We'll see.
Is he saying? I guess he's saying because he doesn't have confidence in Justin Fields.
Yeah, I mean, there's another team that's never had a franchise quarterback their entire existence.
And Fields had 2 picks today, and he didn't have much yards, but they still found a way to win. So. Jones
is better than Justin Fields. At least right now he is. He's better than Justin Fields.
I mean, he doesn't. Fields that's also a conversation. Bears fans think they're upset at their front office. They think
they failed him just like you failed Jones.
They're like, how can you go have an off season and you don't bring any weapons for him? So, let's see what. Yeah. I I guess we'll find out next week when we play the Bears, right?
We'll
See
find
who's the
out.
better quarterback.
Yeah, but I just want to win the game tomorrow. I'm just, me personally as a fan, I don't enjoy coming on here week 3, especially when the team's 2-0 and talking about next year's quarterback class.
And there's no franchise. I guess you and Bad Dog are Eagles. Listen, man, there's no team I hate more in sports. In sports, Yankees. I hate the Cowboys more than I even hate the Red Sox. Like I just there's no franchise I hate more. I hate the Cowboys more than I hate the Eagles. Just because obviously I'm a Yankee fan, so I know how it is to be on the spotlight, but that whole America's team and just disgusting the way that they operate. Jerry Jones is out here saying, I hope there's a quarterback controversy. You know why he's saying that? Because he wants mainstream media to talk about the Cowboys. The ratings, the product, the brand is more important than the actual result. And that just rubs me the wrong way, man. I hate that. I hate the Cowboys, man. Mark Holmes, 20 videos a day. No. I hate the Cowboys, man. Shout out to Law Nation. I do. And I love Mark Holmes too, but it's just hilarious how he runs the channel. It's so funny.
No, I mean, listen, I hate the Cowboys. People ask me this all the time. Who do you hate the most? It's still the Eagles for me. And I listen, I despise the Cowboys. I want nothing more. The thing is why I put the Eagles ahead of the Cowboys. It's just my individual experience going against those teams. My best memories, or some of my best memories as a Giants fan, have come against the Cowboys. Making Terrell Owens cry, beating Tony Romo to make the playoffs when we went on the Super Bowl run to get in at the end where he overthrew the wide receiver. Eli Manning signing the wall after we beat them, for the first time in their stadium at the first game. So I have some great memories against the Cowboys. Some of my worst memories
Deshaun Jackson
are against the Eagles.
Matt Dodge.
So that's why I have a deeper hatred for the Philadelphia Eagles. But I hate the Cowboys. Don't get it twisted. I can't stand Dallas.
I guess just the only thing is because the Eagles, the city, Philadelphia is similar to New York in grit, and I can get it. They haven't had as much historical success. It's just that the Cowboys fan base. These guys now are over there saying that Cooper Rush, they talk about trade Dak and all this. Like, it's just they win a game, they get so delusional. I wish Stephen A. Smith on that, by the way. I'm not a big Stephen A. Smith fan, but I don't know, man. I hope we win tomorrow because there's nothing that I love seeing more than Jerry Jones's face in the post game and him disgusted and him sad. I love that sight.
Yeah. Oh, dude. Nothing's better than seeing Cowboy tears. And Joey, man.
Wait, is tomorrow's stream on yours or Bad Dogs channel?
It's going to be on Bad Dogs tomorrow. Actually, It's going to be on Bad Dogs the next 2 weeks because I'm going to the Bears game on week 4. So I won't be there week 4. I'll be there week 5. It'll be on I'll have to get up at 9 a.m. for the Packers game on my channel week 5 when we're in London. So we're going to close this out. I got work tomorrow. JD, this stream went a lot longer than I thought it would, but we're going to close this out in a couple of minutes. Ayub says Chris wants wins, but wants a franchise coil. God, yeah, I want both. Yes. I want to win games, and I want to get a franchise quarterback. 100%. Yes. Not room for this team. Not
fans are 640 in the chat, almost 700 fans are ready for tomorrow.
Dude, it's almost midnight. Good to see Woodshed in here, man. How you doing, man? The Giants make the playoffs, and they are carried by Barkley in the defense. I see no reason to commit to Jones. Yeah, I mean, the only reason Woodshed to commit to Jones at that point, in my opinion, if Jones doesn't get better, which we don't know, we don't have a time machine. I have to see how he does over the next 15 games. But if Jones does not significantly improve, the only reason to hang on to him, if we made the playoffs, like you said in your scenario, would be if you don't love a quarterback where we're picking and you don't feel like there's a way to move up and get a quarterback. So you make a short-term commitment to Jones knowing that you're waiting until such time you feel like there's a quarterback worth drafting. Of course, you could also explore free agency, right? But that would be the only reason. You don't want to force a quarterback pick. But that's something we'll worry about in the offseason. We're worried about week 3, Dallas Cowboys tomorrow night, and we're going to kick their ass.
Taylor, give me your player of the game, player on defense, player on offense has the best game.
My player on offense and my player on defense that has the best game. Saquon Barkley on offense. It has to be. He's gonna be the guy that's featured. Saquon Barkley. And on defense, I'm going with Dex. I'm going with Dex. I think Dex has a big game.
I'm gonna
And again,
go
he
with.
may not get the sacks, but he's gonna create sacks.
I think. Oh man, I think Shepard gets a touchdown tomorrow, and I think on defense, I think Kayvon Thibodeaux gets a sack. I'm going.
I mean, that's what I want. I want to see Thibodeaux get a sack.
I'm going with Thibodeaux with the whole equipment, the gear, the white jersey. He's gonna look sharp. I think he's gonna get a sack tomorrow. I think Dave Belton's gonna play well on special teams, and I think it's gonna be a low-scoring game, and I think it's gonna be a fun game. So I'm excited, ready to rock.
Grinded out football game. We'll see if we get. It's gonna be a field goal either way. That's my honest prediction, and hopefully we're the team that comes out on top with a game-winning Graham Gano field goal. But we're gonna close.
And if we win tomorrow, Tana, you better start that post stream on your channel. I think Giants fans are going to start thinking we're on the Eagles level, and I don't care if we're wrong. If we win tomorrow, I'm gonna be hyped.
Listen,
I don't
JD,
care.
I don't give a crap at this point.
I don't care.
I already know. It doesn't matter what I do. So if the Giants turn out being bad, people are gonna blame me for it anyway. Be like, oh, Chris, you said that. I'm gonna ride with the fans. If the Giants win and we get out to a 3-0 start, I'm partying with the fans. Okay. Period. End of story. In the back of my head, I know we're not a Super Bowl team, guys, but I'm a fan and I'm gonna enjoy it. So I'm with you, man. Tomorrow night we're gonna celebrate if the New York Giants get out to a 3-0 start. Hopefully they do. And you a clown too, Jackson. Jackson comes in. Chris, you a clown still. You a clown too. You a clown.
I think he loves you because he says still. When they say still, it's like it's just a troll comment. They don't really.
Oh, he said Chio. He said Chio. Okay. He didn't mean me. He was talking to. I think he's an Eagles fan in the chat. But guys, I am begging the New York Giants to get off to a 3-0 start. Begging the New York Giants to get off to a 3-0 start.
Oh, last thing.
I'll tell you right, we're going to start 4-0 if we start 3-0 because we're beating the Chicago Bears. I'm confident in saying that. We're beating the Chicago Bears. Yeah,
at home. That's going to be tough. One last thing. I do hope Jalen Smith gets activated tomorrow. It would be a nice story. And hopefully he gets some snaps. I don't know if it'll happen tomorrow, but let's see. I think they have until 4 p.m. tomorrow to announce their practice squad activations. And I hope Jalen Smith, who's back to his 54 number, I think it is interesting that they signed him this week. And I also think that it's because Kalicho has not looked good in the snaps he's gotten. He has not looked good in coverage. And it's to the point now where, they're looking at this and they're saying, man, and it sucks because I feel the way about that linebacker position. I honestly think, Tana, if Darian Beavers would have been healthy, he would be the starter next to Crowder.
100%.
And if Colin Johnson would have been healthy,
I'm gonna tell you
they might not be getting any snaps, period.
I'm going to tell you this right now. If Colin Johnson never got hurt, I posted the quote on Twitter yesterday from a quote that Dable made it on August 23rd. He said that both Colin Johnson and David Sills were going to get reps as starters this year on August 23rd based off the way they were playing in practice. So if Colin Johnson never got hurt, it wouldn't have been Sills that didn't make the team. It would have been Slayton that didn't make the team. And Colin Johnson probably, like you said, would have even made it harder for Kenny Golladay to get on the field. Because Dable was a big fan of his, and he's shown he's going to play the guys that he likes and the way that they practice. So it's just crazy, man, how it all worked out with Colin Johnson.
And the last thing I'll say, if Golladay, after this week, Tana, after he said what he said, if he can't get on the field tomorrow, you just wonder how this storyline turns for the following week. Because I just look at it and I'm just saying to myself, man, if he can't get on the field, Tony's not playing. So that percentage of snaps that Tony has to go to somewhere. And if Golladay can't take those snaps and it's spread out to the other wide receivers and he still can't see the field, Shane's going to have to make a decision because as you saw with Golladay, he says it's still early. Let's see where this goes. And he's going to have to give another interview to the media. This could get a little bit ugly behind closed doors. So I think because of that, I think the Giants might play him regardless tomorrow. Like he said, regardless.
I hope so, man. If there's one guy that I'm hoping has a big game tomorrow, it's him. And I'm very disappointed with him. I'm very down on him in terms of the signing and what he's produced as a New York Giant, but I'm rooting for him. I root for everybody that wears a Giants uniform. So if there was ever a week for him to show out, this would be it. So hopefully he produces.
Thibodeaux could get a sack with Micah Parsons on the other side. I'm going to talk so much ish.
Oh, dude. I am blowing up Twitter tomorrow if the New York Giants win.
Oh, man. And if I pray that Thibodeaux gets a sack. Is going to be so much fun to watch.
Yeah, everybody's saying let Tana. So I could talk to you guys for hours, man. I can't. I can. I'm gonna get in trouble at work. I don't care. But and I'm actually getting up early because I'm going to the gym before work. I start at 8 a.m. I'm going to the gym at like 6 a.m. I don't care. Couple of cups of coffee, I'm good to go. But thank you to everybody for all the support you guys always show on the channel. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thank you to JD for coming on the channel. JD is freaking awesome. Really looking forward to getting you back on. You know, we're working with you in the future. Looking forward just to talking sports with you in the future. Great guy. I had a really fun time with you on the stream tonight, so I appreciate you coming on. And yeah, have fun. What are you doing for the game tomorrow? What are you doing?
No, I've actually been at sports bars for the first 2 games. And it's funny. I've watched just to get your reactions when I get home. I'll watch your streams, just to get the reactions of some of the big plays of the game. Tomorrow I'll be home. Just because it's a Monday night, I like to be in the living room, blast the music. I'm gonna have the speakers on to get the atmosphere, and I'm gonna have you guys on the laptop to hear your takes and ready to rock. And I'm gonna end like Eli said, we're all participating, even at home. So I'm gonna be wearing white too.
I was gonna wear this tomorrow, my old Eli white jersey, but then I'm like, I gotta stick with Saquon because that's been the good luck. I was gonna go with the white, but I gotta stick with Saquon. It's worked the first 2 weeks. I gotta roll with it. But I was thinking about wearing the white jersey, but we'll see.
Make sure you bring it tomorrow, Tate, if we win.
What you say?
So make sure you bring it tomorrow. If we win.
You know I'm gonna bring it.
I need you to lose your voice.
You know I'm gonna bring it. 40 Luck, man. I don't think he's gonna want to tell you what bars he goes to. But guys, have a great night, everybody. Toba, have a great night. Tyler, have a great night. Justin has a great night. Has Parsons been ruled out? No, he's gonna play. I know it was reported that he was sick, but guys, have a great night. See you guys tomorrow. Be live on Bad Dogs about a half hour before the game, and yeah, hopefully we're celebrating a win by about 11:45 or so. And the New York Giants are off to a 3-0 start. But guys, have a great rest of your night, and we'll talk soon. Be good. All right.